Tonight's pot roast is off limits to you. Here, have this instead. But this is leftover soup and salad from 2 days ago. It might have gone bad. You can handle it, right? Don't be wasteful. Eat up. I don't want to waste good meat on you. I can eat this. What was that? Leftovers are perfect for you. Stop complaining and eat up. My mother-in-law always directs such nastiness towards me. She's so obnoxious, it just gets under my skin. My name is Mary, a 27-year-old woman juggling both work and home responsibilities. I got married only a year ago, so I don't have any kids yet. Right now, we're living with my husband's family in their house. I never wanted to live with my in-laws, but since my husband is the eldest son, we didn't have much choice. I thought it was ridiculous to live with my in-laws in this day and age, but both my husband and my mother-in-law hold on to old-fashioned values. Moreover, my father-in-law is no longer with us, and my husband expressed his concern for his mother. I have no idea what he's worried about. She's still so full of life. My brother-in-law is single and working overseas, so I guess that's just how it has to be. But I still hate it. Now even my husband has started being mean to me, following in his mother's footsteps. He never said anything mean before we got married, but his attitude changed drastically. I feel deceived. He's always acting superior and he always yells at me. It gives me a headache. Hey you, why is my shirt so wrinkled? Ha, is it wrinkled? Yeah, I'll be embarrassed at work like this. Can't you even iron properly? Why can't you do something so simple? No, I did iron it. Your properly is not proper at all. Realize that. What a useless wife you are. That's so mean. You don't have to say it like that. Are you talking back to me? Your face is as wrinkled as this shirt, and you're annoying. Seriously, you look older than you are. It's a turn-off. Oh really? Before we got married, he used to call me adorable. He treated me like a princess. But now he insults my parents and laughs about it. I don't understand why he would say such a thing. I'm not wrinkled or anything. It crossed my mind that he's actually balding for his age. I even found myself wishing that he would go completely bald one day. Our marriage is still pretty new, but I'm concerned about the future. Sometimes the word divorce even flashes through my mind. I was exhausted every day, and once I finished the housework after getting home from work, I felt like I was about to collapse. But my mother-in-law never helped with the chores. She seems to spend her whole day blankly watching TV. There were crumbs from snacks on the floor in front of the TV, and a lot of them. I had to clean them up, and I wish she would at least use a plate. Then, after dinner one day, my mother-in-law started to speak. Hey, let's all go to a spa resort when the new year comes. Oh, that sounds great, I replied. All right, I'll make the reservation. I'll get on it first thing tomorrow. Thanks, Mom, my husband said, beaming with joy. My husband and mother-in-law seemed very happy. I didn't really want to go with these people, but I was interested in the spa resort itself. I love visiting spa resorts, and this one was famous enough to be featured on TV recently. I thought it could be a great memory if I could ignore these annoying people, so inside, I was actually excited. After this, my mother-in-law said she had something to discuss. I wondered what it was and headed to the living room. You know we only have a small car, right? So, I was hoping we could borrow your family's minivan. After all, we can load lots of luggage in it. Alright, I guess my father has both a minivan and a small car. He usually commutes in the small car and uses the minivan for shopping trips or camping, which is his hobby. When I called my father, he readily agreed to lend it to us. With that, we welcomed the end of the year vacation. I had to clean the house, so it was again incredibly busy. However, thinking that a spa resort was waiting for me after getting through this year-end period helped me push through. As expected, my mother-in-law wouldn't move from the sofa. She laid there all the time, looking like a statue. Then, the morning of New Year's Day arrived. I woke up thinking about the long-awaited spa resort, but was surprised when I looked at the alarm clock. I had overslept. What? It's already 8:30, but David isn't here. Why? My husband, who should have been sleeping next to me, wasn't there either. I thought he might be in the bathroom, but he wasn't. Huh? Where is everyone? Did they go somewhere? I peeked into my mother-in-law's bedroom, but she wasn't there either. I began to wonder if they left without me. In a panic, I checked my smartphone. I always charge my phone in the living room before going to bed. There was a text notification on my smartphone. It was from my mother-in-law. We're going to have fun. We never booked a place for you. You can spend a lonely New Year. It's okay if the bride doesn't come. So my mother-in-law never intended to take me with them from the start. and she planned to enjoy it with my husband. I was really sad at the same time. I was also very angry. It's terrible to deliberately stop my alarm clock to make me oversleep. I suspect the reason she made me drink a lot of alcohol the night before was to make me pass out. I regretted drinking that much, although it's a relief that she didn't drug me. I was irritated about her pushing drinks on me. Well, there's nothing I can do even if I get angry, so I decided I had to enjoy myself alone at home. I really wanted to go home to my parents, but they're also away on a trip by plane, so it's pointless to go back. Though I ordered a pizza for delivery that day and spent a lonely day. Then my mother-in-law and husband returned from their trip. They had brought smiles on their faces. It was so fun. It was the best. I want to stay there again, of course, without you, Mary. Here, this is the souvenir. What is this? It's a stone I found lying around. It suits you perfectly. Oh, is that so? I couldn't help but think that my mother-in-law was extremely spiteful. Frustrated, I went to return the minivan to my parents' house. I thought they would be home by now. When I arrived at my parents' house, my father came to greet me. Did you enjoy the spa resort? That famous spa should have been quite satisfying. I didn't go because I'm the bride. Well, I was told by my mother-in-law that it's fine if the bride doesn't come. I was left behind when I woke up in the morning. No one was there. What? After that, my father started to do something. Then he had me sit in the passenger seat of the minivan and started driving. The car was headed back to my in-laws' house. When I glanced at my father's face as he drove, he seemed to be angry. Well, any father would get angry if their daughter was treated that way. But I was taken aback because I had never seen such a look on my usually calm father's face. Then my father stormed into my in-laws' house with something in his hand. My mother-in-law came out. Oh, hello, and Happy New Year. Sorry for borrowing your minivan. Happy New Year. Speaking of which, you left our daughter behind, didn't you? No, Mary said she had a fever and couldn't go, so we had to leave her behind reluctantly. I even offered to take care of her. My mother-in-law was lying through her teeth with a smirk on her face. She definitely never said anything like that, and I wasn't even sick with a cold. I wondered how she could tell such an obvious lie. I thought something must be wrong with her brain. Oh, really? But our daughter said she was left behind. She told us she received a message on text saying it's fine if the bride doesn't come. Did I say that? I don't remember. You did. Look at this text. I showed her the text messages. However, she still insisted she was innocent. I was surprised at how thick-skinned she was to still deny it even cornered this far. In a sense, it was admirable. You're still saying that, huh? You're truly a sad person. Oh, by the way, can I charge you for the cleaning of the car interior? What? Why? Because you dirtied it with a married man nonetheless? What a filthy and disgusting scene. What? What are you talking about? This right here. What my father had in his hand was a dash cam. This one has dual cameras, so it can record not only the outside but also the inside of the car. The advantage of being able to record the inside of the car is that it can provide evidence that you were driving safely. My mother-in-law doesn't know much about car supplies or cars in general, so there's a chance she didn't realize this was a dual camera. But what was she doing with a married man in the first place? I regretted watching the footage that my father played back. After all, there were images of my mother-in-law in an indecent posture with an unknown man. Even though my father-in-law is no longer in this world, it's insane to do such a thing with a married man. And what on earth was she doing in her family car? This was on the exact day you borrowed the car. Oh, how disgusting. Wait, this doesn't mean we were doing anything dirty. It's not something perverted. My mother-in-law was in a panic, fumbling and stammering on the spot. Tears welled up in her eyes. She was on the brink of crying. I found myself curious and somewhat amused about when she would finally break down. Maybe I'm being cruel, but after all the time she tormented me, she deserves this much. I couldn't be sympathetic or kind to someone like her. Then she began making pathetic excuses. Her reasoning was all over the place. It was clear she was flustered, yet she was desperate to defend herself. Suddenly, my father pulled another item from his pocket. It was a photograph. The picture showed my mother-in-law and the man from the video engaged in assorted acts in broad daylight. It was unthinkable. The background of the picture suggested it took place somewhere secluded, but the audacity to do this in the daytime was still shocking. You wouldn't have seen these if you hadn't been mean to my dear Mary. Why do you have that picture? Because I'm a detective, remember? Oh, do you recall now? Look, I've been telling you this all along, haven't I? My father is a detective, which explains why he had such a photograph. Coincidentally, the wife of the married man in the picture had hired him for an infidelity investigation. It turns out the wife of this man hired me to investigate her husband's affair. I was surprised to discover you were the other woman. I was going to inform her next week, but I didn't expect to show you this so soon. Ha! No, I'm innocent. I was just forced into an unpleasant situation. I am not at fault. Please don't tell his wife. Ah, it was against your will, was it? You seem to be enjoying yourself. We also have video footage of you whispering sweet words to the man. Do you want to see it? I'm sorry. My mother-in-law collapsed to her knees and burst into tears. I watched her in a pitiful state with a cold glare. Sensing the unusual situation, my husband arrived. I had run out of patience with him too, and I proposed a divorce. I've had enough. I want to end this. Let's get divorced. What? I'll go crazy if I stay in this horrible family any longer, so I'm leaving. Hold on. What will happen to our living expenses if you leave? I was fired a while ago. My husband dropped a bombshell. Apparently, he had been fired at the end of the year. I was taken aback. As he had not told me this despite knowing his job was terminated, he had still decided to go on a spa resort trip. He was a complete fool. I felt I had no choice but to divorce him. I took off my wedding ring and left it there. My husband desperately tried to stop me. Wait, can't you forgive me for not taking you on the spa resort trip? It's not just about the trip. I don't want to be with you or your mother anymore. If you want to live with your mother that much, then go ahead, you mama's boy. Please wait, don't go. I got a lawyer and proceeded with a divorce. My ex-husband seems to be having trouble managing his living expenses now that I'm gone. I thought he should find a new job quickly, but having been fired from his last job for theft, he'll probably struggle to find a new one. His previous company had fired him because he had been caught stealing. Apparently, they decided they couldn't trust him and didn't need someone like that. Unsurprisingly, the wife of my mother-in-law's lover demanded compensation for the affair. She ended up spending all the money left by my father-in-law to settle the payment. I haven't seen my ex-husband or ex-mother-in-law since, but I imagine they're probably living the hard life. It doesn't matter to me anymore. Currently, I'm living alone and enjoying my work. I made the right decision not to have a child with my ex-husband. Now I am enjoying a peaceful life and would be happy if I found a new love if such an opportunity arises. This is my plan to make sure to choose wisely.
I stared at the anniversary dinner I'd spent hours preparing, now cold and untouched on our dining room table. The candles had burned down to stubs, casting weak shadows across the perfectly plated beef Wellington that Riley would never taste. My husband of 12 years had just told me he was leaving me for my sister. I'm Hope, and until exactly 47 minutes ago, I thought I had the perfect life, a successful catering business, a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, and what I believed was a rock-solid marriage. Funny how quickly perfection can shatter. Mommy? Lexi's small voice pulled me from my daze. Why are you crying? I quickly wiped my eyes, forcing a smile. Just tired, sweetie. Shouldn't you be in bed? Daddy didn't kiss me goodnight. Her bottom lip trembled. Come here. I pulled her onto my lap, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. Daddy had to work late, but I'll give you extra kisses to make up for it. After tucking Lexi in, I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, my phone buzzing incessantly. 12 missed calls from Delaney. Of course she'd try to explain, to justify why my little sister had been sleeping with my husband for the past 8 months. The phone buzzed again. This time a text from Camilla. Girl, where are you? Call me now. I hit dial, my hands shaking. He's gone, I whispered when she picked up. What do you mean gone? Hope, what happened? He's leaving me for Delaney. Saying it out loud made bile rise in my throat. They've been together since Christmas, when she came to stay with us after her breakup with Jake. That little snake, Camilla's voice cracked with anger. While you were letting her cry on your shoulder about Jake, she was planning her future with my husband. I stood up, mechanically starting to clear the table. He said they're in love, that it just happened. Things like that don't just happen, Camilla spat. Where are you? I'm coming over. No, stay home. Lexi's asleep and I need to process this. At least tell me what triggered this confession. Did you catch them? Worse. I picked up Riley's untouched wine glass. He waited until I'd spent all day preparing his favorite meal, until I'd lit the candles and poured the wine. Then he told me how sorry he was, but he and Delaney couldn't hide their feelings anymore. On your anniversary, that bastard. I dumped the perfect beef Wellington into the trash, watching 12 years of marriage follow it down. He said they wanted to do this right. Be honest before... My phone pinged with a new email. I nearly dropped it when I saw the sender. Delaney Shaw Events. Hold on, I told Camilla, opening the email with trembling fingers. Oh my God. What? What is it? It's a wedding invitation. They're getting married in 6 weeks. My voice sounded distant, hollow. And there's a note from Delaney. Don't read it, delete it right now. But I couldn't stop myself. Dearest Hope, I know this is a shock, and I'm so sorry for the pain we've caused. But you've always been more than my sister. You're my best friend. It would mean everything to have you there, not just as family, but as our caterer. Your food has always been the highlight of every family event. Please say you'll do this for us, for family, love, Delaney. She wants me to cater their wedding? I laughed, a harsh, broken sound. For free, of course, because we're family. Tell her to go to hell. I sank into a kitchen chair, my mind racing. Wait, maybe I should do it. Have you lost your mind? Think about it. Everyone in town knows my catering business. If I refuse, people will talk. They'll say I'm bitter, unprofessional. It could ruin everything I've built. Hope. And Lexi? She needs to see her family together, even if we're broken. She's already asking questions about why Daddy left. This is insane. You can't... Another text popped up, this one from Riley. Please say yes to Delaney's request. It would mean so much to Lexi to have you there. We can make this work, for her sake. My hands clenched into fists. They were using my daughter, my business, my whole life as leverage, playing me like they probably had been for months. You know what? I said, my voice steadier now. I will cater their wedding. I'll create the most beautiful, memorable celebration they've ever seen. Hope, don't do this to yourself. No, you don't understand. I stood up, a plan already forming. If they want me to be part of their perfect day, I'll give them exactly what they deserve. Every last bite of it. I could hear Camilla's concern through the phone, but my mind was made up. They wanted a wedding to remember? I'd make sure no one ever forgot it. The bell above my bakery door chimed, and there she stood, my baby sister, clutching her wedding planning binder like a shield. 2 weeks had passed since Riley's confession, but seeing Delaney still felt like a punch to the gut. Hope, she said softly, stepping toward my counter. You haven't returned any of my calls. I continued piping buttercream roses onto a birthday cake, refusing to look up. I've been busy. Single motherhood does that. About the wedding... She placed the binder on my workspace, forcing me to acknowledge her. Have you thought about my request? You mean your demand that I cater your wedding to my husband? The rose I was piping collapsed under sudden pressure. For free? Not free exactly. We'd cover ingredients, of course. She touched my arm. I jerked away. And think of the exposure. All those potential clients. Don't. I finally met her eyes. Don't pretend this is about helping my business. It's about family, she insisted. About Lexi having all of us together. She's so confused right now. Because her aunt stole her father. The words exploded out of me, making a customer browsing nearby jump. Delaney's eyes filled with tears. We never meant to hurt anyone. It just happened. Haven't you ever felt something so powerful you couldn't fight it? Yes, it's called loyalty. I grabbed my phone, pulling up my calendar. You want me to cater? Fine. But we're doing this professionally. Sit down. She perched on a stool, wiping her eyes. Really? You'll do it? 200 guests, you said? I started typing. That's normally a $20,000 minimum. I'll need a deposit. Hope we can't afford that. You know I'm between jobs, and with Riley's divorce costs... I slammed my phone down. His divorce costs? You mean the divorce he's paying for because you two couldn't keep your hands off each other? Please, she whispered. I'll help with the prep, like when we were kids, baking with Mom. The mention of our mother sent a fresh wave of pain through me. Don't you dare use Mom. She would have wanted us to stay close, no matter what. She would have been ashamed of you. Delaney flinched, but pressed on. What if I give you my inheritance? The money Mom left me for my wedding day? I laughed bitterly. You mean the money she left both of us? The money you convinced me to let you hold on to because I was already married? Take it all, she said. Please, Hope. No one else can do this. Your food, it's always been magical. Special. My phone buzzed. A text from Riley. Lexi's asking for you. Parent-teacher conference tomorrow at 2. Please come. I closed my eyes, remembering Lexi's tears this morning when she realized Daddy wasn't coming home again. Fine, I'll do it. Really? Delaney jumped up to hug me. I stepped back. But I have conditions. I handle everything my way. No interference, no special requests, and I need access to your house to prep. Of course! Anything! She was practically bouncing. I'll give you the spare key today. Oh, Hope, thank you. After she left, I retreated to my office, hands shaking as I opened my laptop. I needed to start planning the menu, but first... You're actually doing this? Camilla's voice came through my office phone speaker. I don't have a choice. It's about Lexi now. It's about revenge, she said. Not that I blame you. I started typing out menu ideas. I'm being professional, taking the high road. Sure you are, she paused. Hey, speaking of professional, I need to grab something from your office computer. Mind if I remote in? Go ahead. I authorized her access, watching her cursor move across my screen. What are you looking for? Just some contract templates. Oh wait, what's this? A video file popped up, one I'd never seen before. The thumbnail showed my kitchen. Must be from my security camera, I said. I had it installed last month after that break-in down the street. Camilla clicked play. My kitchen appeared, dark except for the light above the stove. 2 figures moved into frame, Riley and Delaney. Oh my God, I whispered. Their voices filled my office. We have to tell her, Delaney was saying, before the baby. I froze. Baby? Shh, listen, Camilla hissed. Riley pulled Delaney close. We will. After I move the money. Hope's not stupid. She'll check the accounts first thing. How much are you taking? Everything I can. Her business loans, Lexi's college fund. I slammed the laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. A baby. They were having a baby, and Riley was planning to clean out our accounts. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Riley. Don't forget tomorrow, 2 p.m. Lexi needs both her parents there. I picked up my phone, rage making my fingers steady as I typed. I'll be there, and I'd love to cater the wedding. In fact, I have some special surprises planned. Camilla's voice came through the speaker. Hope, what are you thinking? I reopened my laptop, the incriminating video still paused on the screen. I'm thinking it's time to start planning the menu and the entertainment. A video wall inside the cake? Camilla leaned forward across my kitchen island, eyes wide. That's either brilliant or completely insane. I pulled up the design on my tablet. The latest in edible LED screens. Completely food safe. When they cut into the cake, it'll activate. And play their little kitchen confession for everyone to see, she whistled. That's cold. I love it. They wanted special. I swiped through more designs. I'm giving them special. The parent-teacher conference that afternoon had been the final straw. Sitting there next to Riley, pretending everything was fine while Ms. Thompson talked about Lexi's adjustment issues. Watching him check his phone every 5 minutes, probably texting Delaney. Have you thought about the fallout? Camilla grabbed a piece of the sample cake I'd been working on. This could hurt your business. Already handled. I pulled out a stack of contracts. I've been calling all my regular clients, locking in dates for the next year. Most are happy to pre-book with a discount. Smart, she flipped through the papers. Mind if I take these? Could help with some contracts I'm working on? Sure. I turned back to my tablet. The tricky part will be the timing. The video needs to play right when... Mom! Lexi burst into the kitchen, backpack bouncing. Aunt Delaney's here! My sister followed behind, carrying a garment bag. Sorry to barge in, but I need your opinion on the bridesmaid dresses. Now? I glanced at Camilla, who was quickly gathering the contracts. Please? Delaney's hand drifted to her stomach, a gesture I wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't known. The boutique needs an answer today. I should go, Camilla stood, hugging me. Call me later about those cake details. After she left, Delaney unzipped the garment bag, revealing a pale pink dress. What do you think? I know it's not your usual style, but... You want me to be a bridesmaid? I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. Of course, you're my sister. She touched my arm. My only sister. Mommy, it's so pretty. Lexi ran her fingers over the silk, like a princess dress. I looked at my daughter's excited face, then at my sister's hopeful one. The sister who was carrying my husband's baby, who was helping him steal my money, who had the nerve to stand in my kitchen asking me to celebrate her betrayal. It's perfect, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. Just like everything else will be. Really? Delaney hugged me, and I forced myself not to stiffen. Oh, I was so worried you'd say no. And speaking of perfect, how's the menu planning going? Wonderfully. I moved to my recipe books, carefully angling my tablet away. I'm thinking of doing that chocolate ganache cake you always loved, with some modern touches. The one Mom used to make? Her eyes lit up. That would be amazing. And expensive, I added. The ingredients alone. Use Mom's wedding money, she said quickly. Whatever you need, I trust you completely. Those words hit like a knife. Trust. Like I had trusted her with my husband, my home, my life. Aunt Delaney, Lexi tugged at her aunt's sleeve. Can I try on the dress? It's a bit big for you, sweetie. Delaney knelt down. But guess what? We're getting you an even prettier one. You're going to be our flower girl. I gripped the counter, knuckles white. They hadn't even asked me. Really? Lexi squealed. Mommy, did you hear? I heard. I managed a smile. Why don't you go do your homework while Aunt Delaney and I discuss the menu? Once Lexi was gone, I turned to my sister. You should have asked me first. We thought it would help her adjust. Delaney's hand went to her stomach again. Make her feel included in the changes. Changes? I laughed sharply. Is that what we're calling it? Hope, please. Can't we just... My tablet chimed with a calendar alert. Bank appointment. Review accounts. I have to go, I cut her off. Business meeting. Let yourself out? At the bank, my worst fears were confirmed. Riley had already transferred most of our joint accounts to a new one in his name, including half of Lexi's college fund. I sat in my car afterward, hands shaking as I called Camilla. He took the money, I said when she answered. Just like in the video. That settles it then. Her voice was hard. The cake plan is on. I don't know. Using the video feels so public. Maybe I should just go to a lawyer. And what? Fight him in court while he and Delaney play happy family with your daughter? While they spend your money on their new baby? I touched my tablet, where the cake design glowed. A beautiful trap, waiting to be sprung. You're right, I said finally. The wedding's in 4 weeks. I need to start ordering supplies. That's my girl. Camilla paused. Hey, speaking of supplies, any chance I could get access to your vendor list? For research? I barely heard her question, already lost in planning the perfect revenge. Sure, whatever you need. I'm thinking we should add speakers to the cake design. Make sure everyone hears every word. The fondant needs to be exactly 2 millimeters thick, I instructed my kitchen staff, watching them roll out sheets of pristine white icing. Any thicker, and it'll interfere with the electronics. 2 days before the wedding, and my commercial kitchen hummed with activity. Every surface covered with flowers, decorations, and partially assembled cake tiers. The perfect crime scene in progress. Hope? A familiar voice made me turn. Nick, Riley's father, stood in the doorway. You can't be back here, I said quickly. Health code regulations. He stepped in anyway, looking around at the elaborate preparations. Quite a production you've got going. Did Riley send you to check up on me? No. He touched one of the sugar flowers. I came on my own, been trying to work up the courage to talk to you. I gestured for my staff to take a break, waiting until we were alone. There's nothing to talk about. I disagree. Nick pulled out a chair. Sit with me, please. Something in his voice made me comply. Nick had always been more of a father to me than my own dad. I'm sorry, he said simply, for what my son did to you, to this family. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He leaned forward. I raised him better than this, or I thought I did. I focused on arranging sugar flowers, trying to keep my hands steady. It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. He reached into his jacket. And this matters too. He placed a check on the counter. I glanced at it and gasped. The amount would cover all the money Riley had taken, plus more. I can't accept this. You can, and you will. His voice was firm. Consider it Lexi's college fund. Put it in an account only you can access. Nick, I know what you're planning, he said quietly. My hands froze on the sugar flowers. What? The cake, the video, all of it. He held up a hand as I started to protest. Your supplier called me by mistake last week about the LED screens. Thought I was still handling the wedding finances. Are you going to tell them? No. He stood up. But I am going to ask you one question. Is this really who you want to be? They deserve it, I whispered. After what they did. Probably. He headed for the door. But do you deserve what it'll do to you? I stared at the check after he left, his words echoing in my head. The kitchen door swung open again. Everything okay? Camilla walked in, carrying coffee. You look like you've seen a ghost. Nick knows. I told her about his visit. Maybe he's right. Maybe I should... Stop right there. She set the coffee down hard. Have you forgotten about the baby? About how they're planning to play happy family with your daughter? No, but... And what about your business? She gestured around the kitchen. I've been hearing things. Delaney's been calling your clients, telling them she's taking over your accounts after the wedding, that with Riley's connections, she can offer better deals. My blood ran cold. What? Check your emails. Several clients tried to contact you about it. I grabbed my phone, finding messages I'd somehow missed. 3 major clients expressing concerns about their contracts. They're trying to destroy everything I've built, I whispered. Exactly. Camilla picked up one of the sugar flowers. So what are you going to do about it? I looked at the half-assembled cake tiers, each one containing carefully hidden speakers and screens. At Nick's check, representing everything they'd tried to take from me. The plan stays, I said firmly, but I need your help with something else. Anything. I want to record a new introduction for the video, something more personal. She grinned. Now you're talking. What did you have in mind? I outlined my idea as we walked through the kitchen, past staff returning to work on the cake that would destroy my sister's wedding. Each tier was a ticking bomb of betrayal, set to explode at the perfect moment. Just promise me one thing, Camilla said as she left. Don't lose your nerve, no matter what anyone says. I picked up Nick's check, then looked at the latest text from Delaney. Can't wait to see the cake tomorrow. You've always made everything in my life more special. Don't worry, I said, ripping the check in half. I won't. I turned back to my staff, clapping my hands. All right, everyone, let's make this wedding one they'll never forget. The cake rose before me, layer by layer, beautiful and deadly, just like the revenge it would serve. The wedding venue sparkled with fairy lights and pink roses, a perfect Pinterest dream come true. I adjusted the final tier of the cake, my hands steady despite the gravity of what I was about to do. Mommy, look at my dress. Lexi twirled beside me, flower petals falling from her basket. Aunt Delaney said I looked just like a princess. You do, baby. I kissed her forehead, breathing in her sweet scent. Why don't you go find Grandpa Nick? It's almost time. As she skipped away, Delaney appeared in a flutter of white lace. Hope! The appetizers are amazing. Everyone's raving about them. Just wait for dessert, I said, smoothing my bridesmaid dress. It'll be unforgettable. You've been so wonderful about everything. She hugged me, her baby bump now slightly visible. I know this hasn't been easy. The wedding coordinator interrupted us. 5 minutes, everyone. Places, please. I watched the ceremony from my spot in the line of bridesmaids, clutching my bouquet so tight the stems cracked. Riley beamed as Delaney walked down the aisle, the same look he'd given me 12 years ago. The reception began, and I moved through my catering duties like an automaton, serving plates, directing staff, checking temperatures. All while the cake waited, its hidden screens ready to expose every lie. Need help with anything? Camilla appeared at my elbow. The cake presentation is in 20 minutes. Everything's set. I glanced at my phone where the video file waited. Did you upload the new introduction? All ready to go. She squeezed my arm. No second thoughts? Before I could answer, Riley approached. Hope, can we talk? Camilla melted away as he led me to a quiet corner. I wanted to thank you, he said, for making this easier on Lexi, on everyone. Is that what you think I'm doing? I know we hurt you. He had the decency to look ashamed. But seeing you here, being so professional, maybe we can all move forward. Be a real family again. A family? I laughed softly. Is that what you'll tell Lexi when the new baby arrives? He paled. How did you... Time for the cake cutting, the coordinator's voice rang out. I turned away from Riley's shocked face. Better get up there, your bride's waiting. The cake stood magnificent in the center of the room, white fondant gleaming under spotlights. Delaney and Riley posed beside it, knife poised for that first symbolic cut. Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ announced, please gather round for the cake-cutting ceremony. Phones came out, cameras flashed. I stood at the back, remote control hidden in my palm. Wait, Delaney called out. I want to say something first. My finger hovered over the button as she turned to address the crowd. I want to thank my amazing sister, she said, eyes finding mine. Hope, you've always been there for me, even when I didn't deserve it. This cake, this whole day, it's perfect because of you, because you chose love over anger. I'll never forget that. Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the guests. I saw Nick watching me intently from across the room, Lexi perched on his shoulders. Mommy, she called out, waving. Can I help cut the cake? Delaney beamed. Of course you can, sweetie. Come help Daddy and me. I watched my daughter run forward, her little face glowing with excitement as Riley lifted her up. The three of them stood together, looking like a perfect family. My finger trembled on the remote. Ready? Riley asked, helping Lexi grip the knife handle. 1, 2... The blade touched the fondant. One push of the button and their world would explode. The screens would light up. The speakers would blast their betrayal to everyone they knew. Their perfect day would become their perfect nightmare. 3. The knife sliced down. I didn't press the button. The cake cut cleanly, revealing layers of rich chocolate and cream. No screens, no speakers, no revenge. Just the cake my mother used to make, prepared exactly the way she taught me. Gasps of delight filled the room as guests saw the intricate layers. It's beautiful, someone called out. Hope? Camilla appeared beside me. What are you doing? Press it. I handed her the remote. No, but they deserve it. After everything. Look at Lexi, I said quietly. My daughter was laughing as Riley helped her cut another slice, Delaney wiping frosting from her nose. She was happy, innocent, untouched by the poison of revenge. I won't be the one to destroy that, I said. I won't let their choices turn me into someone my daughter wouldn't recognize. I walked away from Camilla's protests, past the cake that could have been a weapon, and straight to the venue's office. There, I pulled out my phone and dialed my lawyer's number. It's Hope, I said when she answered. I'm ready to file those papers we discussed. And I want full custody. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's choosing who you want to be when the dust settles. 3 days after the wedding, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Not with congratulations, but with cancellations. I'm so sorry, Hope, Christine, my biggest client, said, but we've decided to go in a different direction for our corporate events. I gripped my desk. Different direction? Your sister made quite an impression at the wedding. Her prices are more competitive. One by one they called, each conversation a fresh knife in my back. By afternoon, I'd lost 6 major contracts. The bakery door chimed. Camilla stormed in, waving her phone. "Have you seen this?" She thrust her screen at me. There was Delaney's smiling face on Instagram, standing in a professional kitchen, my professional kitchen. The caption read, "Exciting news, taking over Hope's Catering, rebranding as Delaney's Divine Events, same great service, better prices." "She's using my photos," I said numbly. "Those are my designs." "Because you let her win!" Camilla slapped her hand on the counter. "We had them, the video, the proof of everything. Now look what's happening." "I did it for Lexi." "And what about Lexi's future? The college fund Riley stole? The business you built from nothing?" The bell chimed again. Riley walked in, looking uncomfortable in his expensive suit. "Get out," I said. "Hope, please. We need to talk about the business transition." "Transition?" I laughed harshly. "You mean hostile takeover?" "It's not like that." He pulled out some papers. "Delaney has investors lined up. They'll buy you out, give you a fair price." "Fair?" Camilla stepped forward. "Like stealing your wife's clients is fair?" "This isn't your concern," Riley snapped at her. "Actually," she smiled tightly. "It is. Show him hope." I stared at her. "Show him what?" She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and suddenly the air filled with familiar voices. Riley and Delaney in my kitchen, planning to take my money. "Where did you get that?" I whispered. "From your security camera." She turned to Riley. "Bet those investors would love to hear how you planned this whole thing. How you stole from your own daughter's college fund." Riley's face went white. "You're bluffing." "Try me." She played another clip, them discussing the pregnancy, the takeover, everything. "You said you deleted it," I said. "I saved a copy, for insurance." She smiled at Riley. "Now, about that buyout." "This is blackmail," he sputtered. "This is business." Camilla's voice was steel. "Walk away. Leave Hope's clients alone, or this goes public." He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the bell fell. "I can't believe you kept the video," I said. "Someone had to protect you." She touched my arm. "You're too nice, Hope. Always have been." "I should be angry you went behind my back." "But you're not," she grinned, "because I just saved your business." My phone buzzed. Christine again. "Hope? Just heard some interesting things about Delaney's new venture. Think we should stick with you after all." More calls followed. Clients returning, contracts reinstated. By closing time, my business was intact. "Celebrate with me," Camilla said, pulling out a wine bottle. "To victory." But something felt off. "How did you know about the investors?" "What?" "You mentioned Delaney's investors before Riley did." She poured the wine, not meeting my eyes. "Lucky guess." "And the video." I stepped back. "You didn't just save it. You edited it, added things." "I did what needed doing." She set down her glass. "Someone had to." "The client list you borrowed, the contracts you wanted to research, you were planning this all along." "Planning what? To save your business?" "To steal it." The realization hit hard. "You were going to use that video to force a buyout yourself." "Don't be ridiculous." "Show me your phone." "Hope, show me." She handed it over. In her emails, I found everything. Messages to investors, plans for rebranding, my client list, with detailed notes on how to undercut my prices. "I was trying to help," she said quietly. "Get out. Hope, please, get out." After she left, I sat in my empty bakery, surrounded by the ruins of 2 betrayals. My phone buzzed again. Delaney. "I heard what happened," she said when I answered. "With Camilla, I'm so sorry." "Are you?" I laughed bitterly. "Sorry enough to stop stealing my clients?" A long pause. "I never wanted to hurt you." Funny how everyone keeps saying that. I hung up, staring at the wedding photos flooding social media. Everyone smiling, celebrating love and new beginnings. While behind the scenes, my world was falling apart all over again. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Nick. "Come over tomorrow. Bring Lexi. We need to talk." I looked around my bakery, the dream I'd built, nearly lost, and somehow kept. Maybe it was time to build something new. Nick's house smelled like fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls when we arrived. Lexi ran straight to his workshop where he always kept a project ready for her. "She's getting good with that junior tool set," he said, watching her through the window. "Natural builder, like her grandfather." "Why did you ask us here, Nick?" He gestured to the kitchen table, where a familiar face sat waiting. "Christine?" I stopped short. "What are you doing here?" My former client, now current again after yesterday's chaos, stood up. "Nick called me. We've been talking about your situation." "My situation?" "Sit down, Hope." Nick pulled out a chair. "We have a proposition for you." Christine opened her laptop. "I'm expanding my event planning business, opening new venues across 3 states. I need a reliable catering partner. And I'm retiring," Nick added, "selling my properties." I looked between them. "I don't understand." "My restaurant spaces," Nick explained. 4 prime locations. Perfect for a catering company looking to expand. Christine nodded. "With my venues and Nick's properties, we could build something amazing. A full-service empire." "But the cost," I started, "is covered." Nick pulled out a folder. "Remember that check you tore up? This is better. I'm offering vendor financing, reasonable terms." "And I'm prepared to invest," Christine added. "Become a silent partner. Your name, your brand, just bigger." My hands shook as I looked through the proposal. "This is a chance to turn this mess into something good," Nick said softly. The kitchen door burst open. "Mommy!" Lexi ran in, holding a wooden birdhouse. "Look what Grandpa helped me make." "It's beautiful, sweetie. Can we hang it at home, for the birds?" Home. The word hit hard. We'd been staying in a hotel since the wedding, avoiding the house full of memories. "About that," Nick said. "The apartment above my downtown restaurant. It's included in the deal. 2-bedroom, private entrance." "I can't accept all this." "Yes, you can." Christine leaned forward. "Because you're the best at what you do, and because I've seen your recipes folder." I stared at her. "What?" "Camilla tried to sell them to me yesterday. Said they were hers now." My stomach dropped. "She what?" "I knew they weren't hers." Christine smiled. "Nobody makes a chocolate ganache cake like yours, so I called Nick." "Camila came to see me too," Nick said. "Tried to convince me to sell her the properties instead. That's when I knew we had to move fast." A knock at the door interrupted us. Nick opened it to reveal Delaney, pale and nervous. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, "but I need to tell Hope something." "Not now," I started. "Please," she stepped in. "It's about Camilla." I noticed she wasn't wearing her engagement ring. "What about her?" "She came to see me this morning. Offered to be my business partner instead. Showed me contracts, client lists. Said she had dirt on everyone in town." "Including you?" I asked quietly. Delaney nodded. "She played us all against each other, and She touched her stomach. "I can't do this anymore. The business, the lies. I'm moving back home, to Mom's house." "What about Riley?" "He's staying here with his pregnant girlfriend." The room went silent. Even Lexi looked up from her birdhouse. "Girlfriend?" I whispered. "Camilla." Delaney's voice broke. "They've been together for months, before us." The pieces clicked into place. Camilla's constant pushing for revenge, her convenient discovery of the security footage, her eagerness to help destroy my sister's wedding. "She played us all," I said. "Like fiddles," Christine agreed. "But now we play back." She turned her laptop to show me something else, a business plan. Not just for catering, but for a complete hospitality group. Venues, restaurants, catering, events. "Hope's Hospitality Group," I read. "With a special program," Nick added, "for single parents trying to start over. Training, jobs, support." "Like Mom did for us," Delaney said softly. I looked at my daughter, still proudly holding her birdhouse. At Nick, offering a future instead of revenge. At Christine, seeing value in what I'd built. Even at Delaney, choosing truth over lies. Okay, I said, but I have conditions. Name them, Christine replied. First, we document everything Camilla's done, protect ourselves legally. Already on it, Nick said. Second, the single-parent program is priority one, not just jobs, real careers. Christine nodded. We'll make it happen. And third, I turned to Delaney. You want to start over? Prove it. Work from the bottom. Learn the business right. She straightened. I will, I promise. Mommy? Lexi tugged my sleeve. Can we paint the birdhouse in our new home? I pulled her close, breathing in the scent of sawdust and hope. Yes, baby, we can paint it any color you want. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's building something so much bigger than what was taken from you. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint and coffee through the open windows of Hope's Hospitality Group's new downtown location. I stood in the teaching kitchen, watching our first class of single-parent trainees practice their piping techniques. Beautiful work, Maria, I said, examining a perfectly frosted cupcake. You're ready for the advanced class. The young mother beamed. Really? I never thought I'd... The door burst open. Christine rushed in, tablet in hand. Hope, turn on the news. Now. I grabbed the remote, flicking on the kitchen's wall-mounted TV. There was Camilla, being led out of her office in handcuffs. Local businesswoman arrested for fraud and extortion, the reporter announced. Sources say she attempted to blackmail multiple prominent businesses. My phone buzzed. Delaney calling from the downtown cafe she now managed. Are you seeing this? I'm seeing it. I watched Riley appear in the background of the news footage, also in handcuffs. Both of them. Karma's quite the baker, Christine said, smiling. Serves up exactly what you deserve. I turned back to my class. Everyone take 5. Get some coffee. After they filed out, Nick walked in, carrying a familiar-looking folder. The last of Camilla's stolen contracts, recovered from her office, plus something else you should see. He handed me a stack of photos. Surveillance shots of me, Delaney, our businesses, dating back months before the wedding. She was planning this for a long time, he said, planning to take everything. I shook my head, while pretending to be my best friend. Mom! Lexi ran in from the adjoining daycare center we'd built for our employees' children. Look what I made! She held up a drawing of our building, complete with the rooftop garden where we grew herbs and vegetables. The sign in her picture read, Hope's Family. That's exactly right, I said, hugging her. We are a family. The door chimed as Delaney entered, carrying a familiar-looking cake box. Found this recipe while cleaning out the cafe storage. Mom's original chocolate ganache. The one she used to make for new beginnings, I said softly. Think these count as new beginnings? She gestured around at the bustling kitchen, the training program, the life we'd rebuilt from ashes. Let's find out. I opened the box, breathing in the familiar scent. Get the plates. As we shared Mom's cake with our students, staff, and each other, I realized something. The revenge I'd planned at the wedding would have destroyed more than just Delaney and Riley. It would have destroyed me. Hope? Christine called from the door. The reporter's here for your interview about the training program. I wiped my hands on my apron. Ready? Wait! Delaney touched my arm. I know I don't deserve to ask anything of you, but could you visit me at Mom's house sometime? See what I'm doing with the place? I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple work uniform. The entitled attitude replaced by genuine humility. Bring cake, I said finally. We'll talk. The reporter was setting up in our rooftop garden when my phone buzzed with a text from Riley's lawyer. Client wishes to surrender full custody. Agree to terms. Everything okay? Nick asked, seeing my expression. I showed him the text. Better than okay. You know, he said, revenge is like baking. Too much heat and everything burns. But the right amount of patience creates something worth sharing, I finished. The reporter gestured me over, pointing to the garden and training kitchen below. Tell me, what inspired all this? I thought about Camilla's betrayal, Riley's theft, Delaney's affair. about the revenge I'd planned and the redemption I'd found instead. Life rarely gives us what we expect, I said. Sometimes it gives us something better. Like my mother teaching me to bake, I'm teaching others to build new lives. Because the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, Nick added, squeezing my shoulder. Below us, Lexi was showing Maria's daughter how to water the herbs. Delaney was teaching a new employee the register. Christine was interviewing another single parent for our program. And the secret ingredient? The reporter asked. I smiled, thinking of the cake that could have ruined a wedding, but instead inspired something greater. Second chances, served with a side of grace. The evening sun painted our building gold as families gathered for graduation dinner, our first class of trainees completing their certification. The tables were laden with their creations, each dish representing a new beginning. To new beginnings, Christine raised her glass. To family, Nick added. To hope, Delaney said softly. I looked around at the family we'd built, not perfect, but real, stronger than betrayal, bigger than revenge. To all of it, I said, cutting into Mom's chocolate cake. Every messy, beautiful bite.
I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my graduation cap for the 100th time. My hands were trembling, not from nerves about the ceremony, but from excitement about finally having my moment. After 10 years of night classes, working double shifts, and putting everyone else first, I was graduating. Me, Jessica, the girl who always stood in the shadows of her husband's success. You look perfect, Sandra said, appearing behind me with a champagne flute, though I still think we should have gone with the sparkly heels. I laughed, glancing down at my sensible black pumps. These'll do just fine. I don't want to trip walking across the stage. Brandon's going to be so proud. She squeezed my shoulder. Speaking of which, where is that workaholic husband of yours? Surgery ran late, I said, checking my phone again. No messages. But he promised he'd make it to the party afterward. The graduation ceremony passed in a blur of speeches and name-calling. When they announced Jessica Mitchell, I walked across that stage with my head held high, thinking about all those nights I'd spent studying after closing the diner, all those promotions I'd turned down so we could stay near Brandon's residency program. Before we continue, quick question. Where has this story found you today? Let us know your location in the comments below. Now, let's continue. The party at our house was Sandra's idea. She'd transformed our backyard into a twinkling wonderland with fairy lights strung between trees and champagne flowing freely. Friends, family, and colleagues from both the diner and my new job at the investment firm filled the space with laughter and congratulations. There's my graduate. Brandon's voice boomed across the yard as he finally arrived, still in his scrubs. He looked exhausted but handsome as ever. That same charm that had won me over 12 years ago, still evident in his smile. Sorry I'm late, babe. Emergency appendectomy. I wrapped my arms around him, breathing in the familiar hospital antiseptic smell. You're here now. That's all that matters. Actually, he pulled away, glancing nervously around the crowd. There's something I need to tell you, something important. My stomach dropped. I knew that tone. It was the same one he'd used when telling me we had to move across the country for his residency. Can it wait? I gestured to our guests. We're celebrating. No. He cut me off, raising his voice slightly. It can't wait. I've been seeing someone. The party chatter died down. I could feel eyes turning toward us, could hear Sandra's sharp intake of breath somewhere behind me. What? My voice came out as a whisper. Her name is Trinity. She's a resident at the hospital. Brandon ran a hand through his hair, a nervous tic I'd found endearing once. We've been together for 6 months. I'm leaving you for her. The silence that followed was deafening. Someone dropped a glass, the sharp crack against the patio tiles making me flinch. 6 months? I repeated, my mind racing through all those late nights, all those emergency surgeries. while I was finishing my degree, while I was still working 60-hour weeks to pay off your student loans? I'm sorry, he said, but his eyes weren't on me. They were fixed on something, someone, behind me. I turned to see a young woman in designer clothes, looking uncomfortable but determined. Trinity. She'd been at my graduation party the whole time. You brought her here? The words came out as a snarl. To my graduation party? I thought it would be better to be honest, Brandon said, reaching for Trinity's hand. To start fresh. Sandra appeared at my side, her arm around my shoulders. You need to leave, both of you, now. But I couldn't let him go, not like this, not after everything. 10 years, I said, my voice rising. I gave you 10 years of my life. I worked at that diner until my feet bled to put you through med school. I moved across the country, away from my family, for your career, and this is how you repay me? Jessica, he started, but I was beyond hearing excuses. Get out, I screamed, grabbing the nearest champagne glass and hurling it at his feet. The splash caught Trinity's expensive shoes, making her jump back with a yelp. As they hurried away, the party dissolved into chaos. People started gathering their things, making awkward excuses. I stood there, rooted to the spot, watching my perfect night crumble around me. I've got you, Sandra whispered, holding me up as my knees threatened to buckle. Let them go. We'll figure this out. But as I watched Brandon help Trinity into his car, the car I'd helped him pick out last year, something hardened inside me. This wasn't just about a failed marriage or a public humiliation. This was about justice, about consequences. I straightened my shoulders, wiping away tears I hadn't realized were falling. You're right, Sandra. We will figure this out, but not the way Brandon expects. The fairy lights continued to twinkle overhead, mocking what should have been my triumph. But as I stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of my celebration, I made a promise to myself. This wouldn't be the end of my story. It would be the beginning. The morning after my disastrous graduation party, I sat at our shared home office, staring at Brandon's laptop. He'd left it behind in his hurry to escape with Trinity. 10 years of marriage, and he couldn't even remember to grab his computer. You should eat something, Sandra said, placing a mug of coffee beside me. She'd stayed the night, sleeping on the couch after helping me clean up the aftermath of the party. I can't, I replied, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Not until I figure out what else he's been hiding. Jessica? Sandra's voice held a warning note. Don't. I took a deep breath. Just don't. You know what's funny? He never changed his password. It's still the date we met. The laptop came to life, revealing dozens of open tabs, patient records, email chains, bank statements. My financial analyst brain kicked into gear as I started scanning the numbers. This doesn't make sense, I muttered, pulling up our joint account. He's been transferring large sums to an account I've never seen before. Sandra leaned over my shoulder. Maybe it's for the hospital? No. I shook my head, my hands shaking as I dug deeper. These transfers started 6 months ago, the same time he started seeing her. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Sandra went to answer it while I continued searching through files. Jessica? A familiar voice called out. It's Eduardo from the hospital. I need to talk to you. Eduardo, Brandon's colleague and friend, stood in our living room looking uncomfortable in his casual clothes. I'd always liked him. He was one of the few doctors who treated me like a person, not just Brandon's wife. If you're here to defend him, I started. I'm not, he cut me off. I'm here because I think you need to know something about Trinity. I gestured for him to sit down. He perched on the edge of our couch, the one Brandon and I had picked out together last spring. She's not just a resident, Eduardo said, running his hands through his hair. She's the daughter of the hospital board chairman. Brandon's been, Let's say he's been climbing the ladder faster than usual since they got together. My laugh came out bitter. So he traded up, got himself a younger model with better connections. It's more complicated than that. Eduardo glanced at Sandra, who was hovering protectively nearby. There have been rumors about missing prescription pads, about procedures being signed off without proper oversight. I've tried looking into it, but every time I get close, the investigations disappear. My hands clenched into fists. And let me guess, Trinity's father makes sure everything stays buried? Eduardo nodded. Brandon's always been ambitious, but lately, look, I probably shouldn't be here. But you were always good to me, Jessica. You deserve to know what's really going on. After Eduardo left, I returned to the laptop with renewed purpose. Every file, every email, every transaction. I combed through them all with the same attention to detail that had earned me my recent promotion. Here, I said finally, pointing to a series of transactions. Look at these payments. They're coded as consulting fees, but they're going to offshore accounts. And the dates match up with some of the procedures Eduardo mentioned. Sandra squeezed my shoulder. What are you going to do? First, I said, plugging in my USB drive. I'm going to make copies of everything. Then I'm going to find out exactly what my dear husband has been up to at that hospital. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. Need my laptop for work. Dropping by to pick it up. Perfect timing, I muttered, quickly finishing the file transfer. Sandra, would you mind making yourself scarce? I need to handle this alone. 20 minutes later, Brandon walked in using his key. He looked different somehow, sharper, colder, like a mask had slipped away. Where is it? He demanded, not even bothering with hello. I gestured to the laptop on the coffee table, right where you left it, along with your integrity, apparently. He froze. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, nothing, I said, keeping my voice light. Just wondering how many prescription pads it takes to buy Trinity those designer shoes she was wearing last night. The color drained from his face. You've been going through my files? Funny thing about being a financial analyst, I said, standing up. We're really good at following money trails. And yours, Brandon? They lead to some very interesting places. He grabbed the laptop, clutching it to his chest. You don't know what you're talking about. And even if you did, no one would believe you over me. I'm a respected surgeon. For now, I replied, watching him back toward the door. But respect is such a fragile thing, isn't it? Like trust or marriage vows. After he left, I sat down heavily on the couch, my hands shaking. Sandra emerged from the kitchen, her face concerned. Are you okay? I nodded slowly, a plan already forming in my mind. I will be, but first, I need to make a call to someone named Helen Graham. According to these emails, she's been asking some very interesting questions about Brandon's department. The game was on, and this time, I wasn't playing by anyone else's rules. The hospital lobby felt different now. For years, I'd walked these halls proudly as Brandon's wife, but today I moved like a ghost, watching the staff hurry past with new eyes. Every friendly smile, every casual greeting. I wondered who else had known about Brandon and Trinity while I remained oblivious. Can I help you? The receptionist's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Yes, I'm here to see Dr. Helen Graham. Do you have an appointment? No, but I leaned closer, lowering my voice. Could you tell her it's about Dr. Brandon Mitchell and some concerning financial discrepancies? The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. She picked up her phone, speaking in hushed tones. Within minutes, a security guard appeared to escort me to Helen's office. Helen Graham wasn't what I expected. Instead of the stern administrator I'd imagined, I found a woman in her late 50s with kind eyes and a streak of silver in her dark hair. She stood as I entered, gesturing for the security guard to leave. Jessica, she said, not a question. I've been wondering when you'd show up. I placed my USB drive on her desk. I have something you might want to see. Helen's expression remained neutral as she plugged in the drive and began reviewing the files. Only the occasional tightening around her eyes betrayed her reaction to what she was seeing. "How long have you known?" I asked, breaking the silence. "About Trinity. A few months." Helen looked up, her gaze sharp. "About the other things? I've had suspicions for longer, but Brandon is protected by Trinity's father. Among others." Helen leaned back in her chair. "The hospital board isn't interested in scandal, especially not with our upcoming merger." What if they didn't have a choice? I pulled out a second USB drive. This one contains copies of everything: the unauthorized prescriptions, the fraudulent billing, the offshore accounts. One click, and it all goes to every major news outlet in the city. Helen's eyebrows shot up. "That's quite a nuclear option you're holding." "He humiliated me at my own graduation party," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "After 10 years of sacrificing everything for him. And now you want revenge." "It wasn't a question. I want justice." Helen stood, walking to her window. Below, I could see Brandon's reserved parking space, his luxury car gleaming in the sunlight. "Did you know," Helen said, still looking out, "that I was the one who recommended Brandon for his residency here? I saw such promise in him. Brilliant surgeon, natural leader, but somewhere along the way, he started believing his own hype." She turned back to face me. "What exactly are you proposing?" "I need access to the hospital's internal audit records," I said, "and any complaints that might have been buried about Brandon's department. That's highly confidential information. So is writing prescriptions for non-existent patients." A ghost of a smile crossed Helen's face. "You're not what I expected, Jessica. Brandon always portrayed you as simple, the devoted wife working her way through community college. Brandon sees what he wants to see." I stood, smoothing my skirt. "I'm giving you a chance to clean house quietly, Dr. Graham. Help me expose Brandon's misconduct through proper channels, or I'll do it my way. And Trinity's father, the board, they'll fight back. Let them try." I placed my business card on her desk. I didn't spend 10 years analyzing financial records for nothing. As I turned to leave, Helen called out, "Wait." She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a thick file. "These are the complaints I've collected over the past year, the ones that never made it to official review." I reached for the file, but she held it back. "Before you take this, understand something. Once you start down this path, there's no going back. People will get hurt, not just Brandon and Trinity, but others, innocent people who trusted him. Like I trusted him. Revenge might feel good in the moment, Jessica, but it leaves scars on everyone involved, including the person seeking it." I thought about the night of my graduation, about the look in Brandon's eyes as he chose Trinity over our decade together. "Some scars are worth it." Helen handed me the file. "I'll help you, but on one condition. We do this right, by the book. No leaked documents to the press, no nuclear options. Deal?" I took the file, feeling its weight, the weight of decisions and consequences yet to come. Deal. As I left the hospital, my phone buzzed with a text from Sandra. "Brandon's moving his things out of the house tomorrow. Want company?" I looked down at the file in my hands, then back at my phone. "No thanks, I've got work to do." That night, I spread Helen's documents across my dining room table, creating a web of Post-it notes and highlighter marks. Each complaint, each discrepancy, each covered-up mistake, they were all pieces of a puzzle I was finally starting to see clearly. Brandon had always said I was good at putting things together. Time to prove him right. 3 more complaints came in this morning, Helen said, sliding a manila envelope across her desk. All from nurses who worked with Brandon last year. They were too afraid to speak up before, but now— I nodded. adding the new statements to my growing file. 2 weeks had passed since our first meeting, and the evidence against Brandon was mounting faster than either of us had expected. "Have you seen him?" Helen asked, studying my face. "Only from a distance. He's moved in with Trinity at her father's beach house." I forced a smile. "Very romantic." "Jessica," Helen's voice softened. "Are you sure you want to continue with this? The hospital board meets next week. Once we present our findings, there's no turning back." Before I could answer, her office door burst open. Brandon stood there, his surgical scrubs wrinkled, his face flushed with anger. "What the hell are you doing?" he demanded, storming toward me. "The nursing staff is refusing to work with me. My patients are requesting transfers. Even Eduardo won't return my calls." Helen rose from her chair. "Dr. Mitchell, this is highly inappropriate." "Save it," he snapped, then turned back to me. "Is this your revenge? Turning my own mentor against me? Poisoning my reputation?" I met his gaze steadily. "Your reputation? You mean the one you built on falsified records and buried complaints?" "You don't understand." He lowered his voice, glancing nervously at Helen. "The things I did? I had to. Do you know how competitive this field is? How hard it is to stand out?" "Actually," Helen interrupted, "I do. I've been standing out in this field for 30 years without compromising my ethics." Brandon ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my heart ache. "Helen, please, you've been like a mother to me. Don't let her do this." "I'm not doing anything," I said, standing up. "These complaints, they're real people, Brandon. Patients who trusted you, nurses who tried to speak up. You did this to yourself." "What about Trinity?" he asked desperately. "Her father can't protect you anymore?" Helen finished. "The board meeting next week isn't just about you, Brandon. It's about the entire culture of cover-ups and corruption. Your relationship with Trinity just helped us connect the dots." He turned to me, his eyes pleading. "Jess, baby, please. We can work this out. I made a mistake." "Don't." My voice cracked. "Don't you dare try to manipulate me. Not after everything." "Fine." His face hardened. "You want to play hardball? Remember who I am in this town. Remember who Trinity's father is. You really think anyone will believe the bitter ex-wife over me?" "They'll believe the evidence," Helen said quietly. "And the witnesses. How many more do you think will come forward once they know they're not alone?" Brandon's pager went off, making us all jump. He checked it, swearing under his breath. "This isn't over," he warned, backing toward the door. "You have no idea what you're getting into." After he left, I sank back into my chair, my hands shaking. Helen poured 2 glasses of water, adding a splash of something stronger to mine. "Drink," she ordered. "Then we'll talk." I took a sip, feeling the burn of alcohol. "He's right, you know, about Trinity's father. He won't go down without a fight." "No," Helen agreed, "he won't. Which is why we need to be absolutely certain about every detail before the board meeting." She paused, studying me. "There's something else you should know." She pulled up an email on her computer, turning the screen so I could see. "Eduardo sent this morning. He's been doing some digging of his own. Apparently, Brandon's been writing prescriptions for Trinity's father's private medical practice. Medications that never made it to actual patients." My breath caught. "You mean?" "Drug trafficking," Helen confirmed. "Clean, respectable, hidden behind a veneer of legitimate medical practice. That's why Trinity's father has been so protective. Brandon's not just dating his daughter, he's part of the operation." I felt the room spin slightly. This is bigger than I thought, more dangerous. "Which is why I'm giving you one last chance to walk away," Helen said gently. "We have enough to stop Brandon's medical career. We could leave it at that." I thought about the night of my graduation, about all those years of sacrifice, about the patients who had suffered because of Brandon's choices. "No," I said firmly. We finished this, all of it. Helen nodded, a hint of pride in her eyes. Then we'd better get back to work. The board meeting is in 6 days, and we need everything to be perfect. As we bent over the files, sorting through evidence and testimony, I felt a strange mix of dread and determination. Brandon was right. I had no idea what I was getting into. But for the first time in years, I was fighting for something bigger than myself. And this time, I wasn't going to lose. "You need to see this," Sandra said, bursting into my apartment without knocking. She thrust her phone at me, displaying a local news website. The headline made my stomach drop. "Prominent surgeon alleges harassment campaign by ex-wife." I scanned the article, my hands growing cold. Brandon had given an interview, painting himself as the victim of a vengeful ex-spouse who couldn't accept the end of their marriage. He'd even managed to work in mentions of my unstable behavior at the graduation party. "That manipulative bastard," I muttered, tossing the phone aside. "He's trying to get ahead of the story before the board meeting." "There's more," Sandra said, pulling up another article. Trinity's father is quoted here, defending Brandon's exemplary record and suggesting an internal investigation into Helen's conduct. My phone rang, Helen's number flashing on the screen. "Have you seen?" she started. "The articles? Yeah, just now." I put her on speaker. "What do we do?" "Meet me at Eduardo's place in an hour," Helen said. "And Jessica, be careful. I think we're being watched." Sandra insisted on driving me to Eduardo's apartment. The whole way there, I kept checking the rearview mirror, paranoid about every car that stayed behind us for more than a few blocks. Eduardo's place was a small walk-up in a quiet neighborhood. Helen was already there when we arrived, along with 3 nurses I recognized from the hospital. "These are the witnesses who agreed to go on record," Helen explained, introducing them. "Maria, Rachel, and Diane. They've all documented instances of Brandon's misconduct. And we're all probably going to lose our jobs," Maria said grimly. "Trinity's father has friends on every hospital board in the city." "No, you won't," I promised, though my voice shook slightly. "We have evidence of retaliation against whistleblowers. That's another federal offense." Eduardo emerged from his kitchen with coffee for everyone. "The board meeting's been moved up," he announced, "tomorrow morning instead of next week." "What?" Helen stood up. "They can't do that. We need more time to—" "They're trying to catch us unprepared," I realized. "Rush this through before we can organize our evidence properly." "It gets worse," Eduardo continued. "I overheard Trinity's father on the phone. They're planning to discredit Helen first, suggest she's been targeting Brandon out of professional jealousy." Helen laughed bitterly. "Professional jealousy? I trained him. Everything he knows about surgery, he learned from me." "They're scared," I said, spreading our evidence files across Eduardo's coffee table. "Which means we're close to something big. Maria, those prescriptions you mentioned, when exactly did they start?" We worked through the night, fueled by coffee and determination. Each piece of evidence was reviewed, each testimony practiced and refined. Around midnight, Sandra returned with takeout and fresh concerns. "Someone broke into your apartment," she said quietly, pulling me aside. "Nothing was taken, but your files were clearly searched." My hands started shaking. "Did you call the police?" "Of course. They took a report, but—" She shrugged helplessly. "Let me guess. The responding officer was friends with Trinity's father?" "This is getting dangerous, Jessica." Sandra grabbed my arm. "Maybe you should back off. Let the medical board handle it through official channels." "The medical board?" Maria scoffed from across the room. "They're as corrupt as the hospital administration. No offense, Dr. Graham." Helen waved off the apology. "She's right. The whole system is compromised. That's why we need to do this right." I walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street below. A car was parked across the road, its occupants barely visible in the darkness. As I watched, it pulled away slowly. "They're trying to intimidate us," I said, turning back to the group. "Scare us into backing down, but here's what they don't understand. I'm not doing this for revenge anymore." "You're not?" Eduardo asked. "No." I picked up one of the patient complaints, a woman who'd suffered complications after Brandon rushed through her surgery. "I'm doing this because it's right. Because every person in this room has sacrificed something to be here, to tell the truth." Helen smiled, that hint of pride back in her eyes. "Then let's give them hell tomorrow." We worked for several more hours, organizing our presentation for the board. Around 3 a.m., as the others were gathering their things to leave, Helen pulled me aside. "Whatever happens tomorrow," she said quietly, "I want you to know something. Brandon was wrong about you. You're not just the bitter ex-wife. You're the person who finally had the courage to stand up and say, 'Enough.'" I hugged her impulsively, surprising us both. "Thank you for everything." As Sandra drove me home in the pre-dawn darkness, I thought about Brandon's threat in Helen's office. "You have no idea what you're getting into." He was right. I hadn't known what I was getting into. But now that I was here, there was no turning back. Tomorrow would change everything, for better or worse. The hospital boardroom felt like a courtroom, with Trinity's father presiding at the head of the table like a judge. Brandon sat to his right, Trinity beside him, both wearing expressions of practiced concern. The other board members filled the remaining seats, their faces carefully neutral. Helen and I sat opposite them, our evidence spread before us like armor. The three nurses, Maria, Rachel, and Diane, waited outside, ready to testify. Eduardo had positioned himself near the door, watching everyone's reactions. "Before we begin," Trinity's father said, his voice smooth as oil, "I want to note for the record that this meeting was called under irregular circumstances. Irregular circumstances require irregular measures." Helen replied coolly. "Shall we begin with the prescription records, or would you prefer to start with the patient complaints?" Brandon shifted in his seat. I could see sweat beginning to form on his forehead. "Dr. Graham," one of the board members spoke up, "these are serious allegations. If they prove unfounded, the consequences to your career—" "They're not unfounded," I interrupted, sliding copies of our evidence across the table. "Everything in these folders is documented, verified, and witnessed." Trinity's father barely glanced at the papers. "Ms. Mitchell, given your personal situation with Dr. Mitchell, perhaps you should recuse yourself from these proceedings." "My personal situation is exactly why I'm qualified to be here," I said, standing up. "I spent 10 years watching Brandon cut corners, bend rules, and justify his actions. The only difference is now I have proof." I walked around the table, distributing more documents. "These are records of prescriptions written by Brandon for non-existent patients. The medications were diverted to private clinics owned by board member families." I paused beside Trinity's father. "Including yours, sir." The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Trinity grabbed Brandon's arm, whispering something in his ear. "This is absurd." Brandon stood up, his chair scraping back. "These allegations are clearly the product of a vindictive ex-wife and a mentor who can't accept being surpassed by her student." "Then you won't mind if we call in our witnesses?" Helen asked. She nodded to Eduardo, who opened the door for the nurses. Maria spoke first, her voice steady as she described catching Brandon falsifying post-op reports. Rachel followed with accounts of missing medications. Diane detailed how she'd been threatened with termination when she tried to report Brandon's mistakes. "Enough!" Trinity's father slammed his hand on the table. "This is nothing but hearsay and circumstantial evidence." "Actually," Eduardo stepped forward, "it's not." He pulled out his phone, playing a recording. Brandon's voice filled the room, clearly discussing prescription quantities with Trinity's father. The color drained from Brandon's face. You recorded me? Eduardo, you were my friend. I was your friend, Eduardo agreed, until I realized what you were doing to our patients. Trinity stood up suddenly. Daddy, we need to leave, now. Sit down, her father ordered, but she was already heading for the door. No, she said, turning back to face us all. I'm not going down for this. I'm not losing my medical license before I even finish my residency. Brandon reached for her. Trinity, baby, wait. Don't baby me, she snapped. You promised this would never come out. You promised my father would handle it. The board members were whispering among themselves now, papers rustling as they reviewed our evidence with new interest. Dr. Mitchell, one of them said, I think it's time you and your associates stepped out while we discuss this matter. This isn't over, Trinity's father warned as he stood. You have no idea the damage you've done. No, Helen replied calmly. The damage was done when you decided profits were more important than patients. They filed out, Brandon, Trinity, and her father, leaving us with the board. For the next 2 hours, we presented our case in detail. Every prescription, every complaint, every cover-up carefully documented and explained. When we finally emerged from the boardroom, Eduardo was waiting with news. Trinity's gone, he said, cleaned out her locker and left. Word is she's already contacted a lawyer about turning state's evidence. And Brandon? I asked. Security's escorting him out now. The board called the DEA. They're on their way. I walked to the window, watching as Brandon was led to his car. He looked up, somehow sensing my presence, and our eyes met across the distance. For a moment, I saw the man I'd married. Brilliant, ambitious, and so certain he could never fail. Then he was gone, and I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just a hollow sort of exhaustion. Helen appeared beside me. The board suspending his license pending investigation. Trinity's father has been asked to resign. What about the nurses? Protected under whistleblower statutes. They'll keep their jobs. She touched my arm gently. You did good, Jessica. We did good, I corrected. But something tells me this isn't quite over. No, Helen agreed, watching another car pull into the parking lot. This one marked with federal badges. This is just the beginning of a much bigger storm. The DEA investigation moved faster than any of us expected. Within 2 weeks, Brandon's perfect life had completely unraveled. I watched it happen from a distance, through news reports and courthouse appearances, until the morning he showed up at my door. 5 minutes, he said, his designer suit replaced by jeans and a wrinkled shirt. Please, Jessica, that's all I'm asking for. I should have shut the door in his face. Instead, I stepped aside, letting him enter the home we'd once shared. You look terrible, I observed, noting the dark circles under his eyes and his unkempt hair. Yeah, well, being indicted for drug trafficking will do that to you. He paced our living room like a caged animal. Trinity's talking to the prosecutors. Her father's fled the country. Everything I built is just gone. Everything you stole, you mean? He stopped pacing, turning to face me. I came to ask for your help. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Are you serious? The prosecutors respect you. If you told them I was a good doctor, that I cared about my patients. But you didn't care, Brandon. That's the point. You cared about money and status and impressing Trinity's father. I cared about us, he shouted, making me flinch. Everything I did, every corner I cut, it was to give us a better life. Us? I stepped closer, anger burning away my fear. There hasn't been an us since you decided to humiliate me at my graduation party. Remember that? While I was celebrating finally getting my degree, you were planning your exit with your girlfriend. The doorbell rang, interrupting his response. Through the window, I saw Sandra and Eduardo on the porch, looking concerned. "Your timing's perfect," I called out, letting them in. "Brandon was just leaving." "Actually," Eduardo said, his expression grim, "we came to warn you. Trinity's been found dead in her apartment." The room went silent. Brandon staggered backward, collapsing onto the couch. "What?" he whispered. "How?" "Apparent overdose," Sandra said quietly. "But given everything that's happening—" "Her father," Brandon jumped up, running his hands through his hair. "He never forgave her for cooperating with the investigation. Oh God, what have I done?" I watched my ex-husband crumble, all his arrogance and charm stripped away, leaving nothing but a scared man who'd played with forces he couldn't control. "You need to go to the police," Eduardo said. "Tell them everything you know about her father's operation." "I can't." Brandon's voice cracked. "He'll kill me too." "He'll kill you anyway," I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. "Your only chance is to tell the truth. For once in your life, Brandon, do the right thing." He looked at me then, really looked at me, perhaps for the first time in years. "Will you come with me? To the police station?" Part of me wanted to refuse, to let him face this alone, like he'd left me to face my humiliation alone. But a larger part remembered the young doctor I'd fallen in love with, the man who'd once wanted to help people. "Fine," I said, "but not for you, for Trinity, and for all the patients you hurt along the way." The drive to the police station was silent. Sandra followed in her car, while Eduardo called Helen to update her. In the passenger seat, Brandon stared out the window, looking lost. "I never meant for any of this to happen," he said finally. "No one ever does," I replied. "But we all make choices, Brandon, and then we have to live with them." At the station, I watched from behind a glass window as Brandon gave his statement. He told them everything about the prescription scheme, about Trinity's father's drug operation, about the threats and cover-ups. With each word, his shoulders seemed to sink lower. Helen arrived as he was finishing, pulling me into a fierce hug. "Are you okay?" "No," I admitted, "but I will be." Through the glass, I saw Brandon look up, his eyes meeting mine one last time. In that moment, I felt the last threads of our shared past finally break. "You know what the worst part is?" I said to Helen as we watched the officers lead Brandon away. "I actually feel sorry for him. That's because you're not the person he thought you were," she replied. "You're stronger than that." Outside the station, reporters were gathering, their cameras ready for the next chapter in the scandal. Sandra touched my arm gently. "Ready to face them?" I thought about the past few weeks, about revenge and justice, about choices and consequences, about the fine line between right and wrong. "No," I said honestly. But that's never stopped me before. As we pushed through the media crowd, their questions blurring into white noise, I realized something. This wasn't the ending I'd wanted when I'd started down this path of revenge. It was messier, sadder, more complicated. But maybe that's what real justice looked like. Not a triumph, but a reckoning. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from the hospital cafe as I sat with Helen, watching medical students hurry past with their textbooks and dreams. "The board approved your proposal," Helen said, sliding a folder across the table. "Full funding for the mentorship program. They're calling it Project Integrity." I opened the folder, scanning the official letterhead. After Brandon's conviction and Trinity's father's arrest in Monaco, the hospital had been desperate to rebuild its reputation. My idea for a program supporting ethical practices and whistleblower protection had landed on receptive ears. "Have you told Sandra yet?" Helen asked. "She's already planning the launch event." I smiled, remembering my friend's excitement. "She says we need to make it big. Show everyone that things really have changed here." Speaking of change, Helen nodded toward the hospital entrance, where Eduardo was leading a tour group of new residents. He's doing well as chief of surgery. Better than well, I agreed. The nurses actually smile during rounds now. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Brandon's sentencing had been announced. 5 years with possibility of parole. Part of his plea deal included testifying against Trinity's father's entire network. You're not reading that, are you? Helen reached across and gently pushed my phone face down. Old habits, I admitted. But you're right. That chapter's over. Ms. Mitchell? A young woman approached our table, clutching a medical textbook. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to thank you. Your testimony at the medical board hearings, it inspired me to report misconduct at my previous hospital. I recognized her then, Maria's younger sister, Rachel. How did that go? They're investigating now. She straightened her shoulders. I was scared at first, but then I thought about what you said about courage being contagious. After Rachel left, Helen raised an eyebrow. Courage is contagious? I might have gotten a bit passionate during my speech. I laughed. But it's true, isn't it? Look at what happened here. First Maria and the nurses spoke up, then Trinity, then Brandon. Then the entire corrupt system came tumbling down. Helen finished. Like dominoes. Dr. Graham? Eduardo approached, his tour group hovering nearby. Would you mind speaking to our new residents about the mentorship program? Helen stood, squeezing my shoulder as she passed. Coming right up. I watched as she addressed the group, her silver hair catching the sunlight. The new residents leaned forward, hanging on her every word as she described the changes we'd implemented. Anonymous reporting systems, ethical oversight committees, support networks for staff. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Sandra. Turn on the news now. I pulled up the local news website to find Trinity's father's face splashed across the screen. He'd been found dead in his Monaco hotel room. Apparent suicide. The authorities had discovered evidence linking him to drug trafficking operations in 3 other hospitals. Everything okay? Helen had returned, noting my expression. It's really over now. I showed her the article. The last domino. She sat back down, her face thoughtful. You know, when you first came to my office with that USB drive, I thought you were just another angry ex-wife looking for revenge. I was, I admitted, but somewhere along the way, it became about something bigger. It became about justice, she corrected, about doing what's right even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. A group of nurses walked past, waving to us. Among them were Maria, Rachel, and Diane, all now supervisors in their departments, their careers flourishing in the hospital's new environment. The first class of mentees starts next week, I said, changing the subject. 20 women from different departments, all interested in healthcare administration and ethics. And you'll be leading them, Helen smiled. From bitter ex-wife to whistleblower to program director, quite a journey. I thought about that journey, about the night of my graduation party, about the anger that had driven me to investigate Brandon, about the unexpected allies I'd found along the way. The revenge I'd sought had transformed into something far more meaningful. You know what's funny? I gathered my things, preparing to head to my new office. Brandon always said I was wasting my potential at that community college. Turns out, he was right about the potential part, just wrong about everything else. Helen stood with me. Ready for your first day as director? I looked around the hospital courtyard, at the medical students chasing their dreams, at the nurses walking tall with newfound confidence, at Eduardo teaching his residents about integrity as much as medicine. Actually, I smiled, I think I've been ready for this my whole life. As we walked into the hospital, I didn't see the shadows of my past anymore. Instead, I saw possibility. The possibility of change, of growth, of making a difference. not through revenge or destruction, but through building something new, something better, something that would last.
The worst thing about discovering your sister sabotaged your wedding isn't the lost deposit or the frantic calls to guests. It's realizing that the person who's supposed to have your back just twisted the knife into it. I'm Roslyn, and I was standing in my restaurant's kitchen when the wedding venue called. "I'm so sorry, but we received a cancellation email from you last week," the coordinator said, her voice dripping with rehearsed sympathy. "We've already booked another couple for that date." My hands trembled as I gripped my phone. I never sent a cancellation email. "It came from your account. I can forward it to you if—" "Please do." I ended the call and slumped against the steel prep table, my pristine chef's whites suddenly feeling too tight. "Hey, you okay?" Quentin appeared beside me, his familiar cologne mixing with the aromas of sautéed garlic and fresh herbs. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I showed him the forwarded email. There it was, a perfectly worded cancellation, supposedly from me, sent from my account. But I noticed something. A telltale signature phrase Hayden always uses. "Warmest regards." My sister's digital fingerprint, clear as day. "I'm going to kill her," I whispered. Quentin wrapped his arms around me. "Let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe—" "No, this is classic Hayden. Remember last Christmas when she accidentally told Mom about my tattoo right before the family photo shoot? Or when she happened to mention to Dad that I took out a loan for the restaurant?" The kitchen door swung open. Mallory, our family friend and regular customer, bustled in with her usual energy. "Roslyn, I just got the most gorgeous invitation to Hayden's engagement party. Did you see yours yet?" My stomach dropped. "What engagement party?" Mallory's smile faltered. "Oh, I assumed you knew. It's next month at the Metropolitan. Very fancy. William's family is flying in from London." I forced a smile. "How wonderful." After Mallory left, Quentin studied my face. "I know that look. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking—" I picked up a knife and started chopping carrots with precise, aggressive strokes. "That my dear sister needs a taste of her own medicine, and who better to serve it than a chef?" Don't Roz me. You know what this means to me. This wedding was my chance to prove to my family that I'm more than just the black sheep who chose pots and pans over law school." The kitchen timer dinged, and I moved to check on my signature bourbon-glazed short ribs. The rich aroma filled the air, reminding me of Sunday dinners at my grandmother's house before she disappeared from our lives. Iris had been the only one who supported my culinary dreams. My phone buzzed. A text from Hayden. "Got some bad news about your venue." "So sorry, but everything happens for a reason, right?" I showed Quentin the message. "See, she's not even trying to hide it." "What are you going to do?" I pulled out my grandmother's old recipe book, its pages stained with decades of cooking experiments and family secrets. "I'm going to offer to cater her engagement party. Free of charge, of course, as a gesture of sisterly love." That sounds suspiciously generous. Oh, it will be generous. I'll make sure every single dish tells a story. About our family, about Hayden, about all the little secrets she thinks nobody knows. The kitchen door swung open again, this time revealing my mother, Violet. "Roslyn, darling, I just heard about the venue. Such unfortunate timing, especially with Hayden's wonderful news." I wiped my hands on my apron. "Yes, wonderful news. In fact, I was just about to call her. I want to offer my services for the engagement party, my gift to the happy couple." Mother's perfectly maintained eyebrows rose. "That's unexpected. Are you sure you can handle such a high-profile event?" "Mother, I run one of the most successful restaurants in the city. I think I can handle an engagement party." She pressed her lips together. "Well, if you're certain, just please, nothing too experimental. You know how traditional William's family is." "Don't worry, Mother. Every dish will be absolutely unforgettable." After she left, Quentin touched my arm. "Are you sure about this?" I opened my grandmother's recipe book to a particular page, her infamous truth-telling curry, the dish she made when she wanted to spark confrontation. "Sometimes," I said, running my finger down the ingredient list, "revenge is a dish best served not just cold, but with surgical precision." My phone chimed again. The invitation to Hayden's engagement party had arrived in my inbox. I smiled. already mentally crafting a menu that would make Gordon Ramsay proud and my sister very, very nervous. Let the cooking begin. You're doing what? Hayden's voice crackled through my phone speaker as I prepped for dinner service. Are you serious? Completely serious. Consider it my engagement gift. I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder while whisking a béarnaise sauce. Unless you don't trust my cooking? No, it's not that. She hesitated. It's just unexpected, especially after the whole venue thing. Water under the bridge, I lied smoothly. Besides, William loves my food. Remember when he came to the restaurant opening? Fine, she said finally. But Mother wants to approve the menu first. I smiled at the sauce, now perfectly emulsified. Of course, I'll have it ready by tomorrow. After hanging up, I pulled out my grandmother's recipe book again. Mallory appeared at my side, eyeing the worn pages. I remember that book. Iris used to create the most amazing dishes with the most interesting stories behind them. That's exactly what I'm counting on. I flipped to a bookmarked page. Remember her Revelation risotto? Mallory's eyes widened. The one she served the night your father's affair came out? Roslyn, you're not planning a menu that speaks volumes? That's exactly what I'm planning. I showed her my draft. First course, bitter truth salad with hidden secrets vinaigrette. You're terrible, Mallory laughed, then grew serious. But be careful. Revenge has a way of burning the cook. Speaking of burning, I rushed to rescue a pan of caramelizing onions. Did you ever find out why grandmother left? Mallory shook her head. She just vanished after that last Christmas dinner. Your mother never talks about it. The kitchen door swung open, and William walked in. My future brother-in-law looked nervous, tugging at his tie. Roslyn, got a minute? I nodded to my sous chef to take over and led William to my office. What's up? I heard you're catering the engagement party. He sat down, fidgeting. Look, I know things between you and Hayden are complicated. Complicated is one way to put it. I leaned against my desk. Did she tell you about the wedding venue? His face fell. She did, after the fact. I tried to talk to her about it, but that's just Hayden being Hayden? She's under a lot of pressure, he said defensively. Her firm's making her junior partner, the wedding planning, your mother's expectations. I snorted. We all have pressure, William. Some of us don't sabotage our siblings because of it. Just promise me the menu won't cause drama. I smiled sweetly. Would I do that? After he left, I returned to the kitchen and pulled out my phone, scrolling through old family photos. There it was, the last Christmas with grandmother Iris. She'd made her famous Truth Teller's tiramisu that night. The next morning, she was gone. Quentin found me still staring at the photo. That's quite a thoughtful look for someone planning revenge. I'm crafting the perfect menu. I showed him my notes. Each dish represents a family secret or scandal. The appetizer, stuffed mushrooms just like the ones served the night Hayden crashed Dad's car and blamed it on me. The soup, a recreation of the bisque from the dinner where Mother announced she'd lost grandmother's inheritance. Roz, Quentin touched my shoulder. Maybe instead of serving revenge, you could try serving forgiveness? Forgiveness doesn't teach lessons. I pulled away, reaching for grandmother's book again. A yellowed envelope fell from between its pages. The letter inside was in Iris's elegant handwriting. My dearest Roslyn, cooking isn't just about feeding bodies. It's about feeding truths. But remember, the sweetest dishes are those that heal, not hurt. When you're ready to understand, find me at the Crimson Rose. The Crimson Rose? Quentin peered over my shoulder. Isn't that the restaurant review column in the Times? My heart stopped. The one written by I.P. The initials hit me like a lightning bolt. Iris Parker. My grandmother is the most feared food critic in the city. Plot twist, Quentin whispered. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up every review I.P. had written. There it was, subtle references to family recipes, techniques I recognized from my childhood. How had I never noticed? My phone buzzed. A text from Hayden. Mother wants to discuss the menu tomorrow. Breakfast at Café Laurent, 9 a.m. Don't be late. I looked at my draft menu, then at grandmother's letter. Maybe it was time to adjust the recipes. After all, the best revenge might not be serving cold dishes, but hot revelations. Change of plans, I told Quentin, pulling out a fresh notepad. This menu needs to do more than expose secrets. It needs to bring my grandmother back to the table. Now that, he said, kissing my cheek, sounds like a recipe worth following. I began to write, each dish now a breadcrumb trail leading to the truth, and maybe, just maybe, to Iris herself. Café Laurent buzzed with morning energy as I slid into the booth across from my mother and Hayden. My proposed menu sat between us like a loaded gun. Spiced memory lane mushrooms. Mother's perfectly manicured nail tapped the first item. That sounds provocative. They're stuffed with aged Gruyere, I said innocently. The same kind we had that night Hayden took Dad's Mercedes for a joyride. Hayden's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. That was years ago. The statute of limitations on lying never expires, sis. Girls, Mother warned, scanning the next item. Truth and consequences, bisque? Rosalind, what exactly are you trying to do here? Create a memorable menu. Isn't that what you wanted? A waiter appeared with fresh coffee. As he poured, I noticed his name tag, IP. My heart skipped. He was older, with silver hair and familiar eyes that crinkled at the corners. He winked at me before disappearing. The main course, Mother continued, oblivious. Grandmother's secret recipe rack of lamb. With her special herb crust. I watched her face carefully. You know, I found some interesting letters in her recipe book. Mother's hand trembled slightly. That old thing? I thought I told you to throw it out. Funny how you wanted me to dispose of our only connection to Iris. I leaned forward. Tell me, Mother, why did she really leave? This isn't the time or place. She stood abruptly. Modify the menu, make it less personal. Hayden, come along. As they left, the silver-haired waiter returned. More coffee? No, thanks. But you can tell my grandmother her disguise needs work. He smiled. I'm afraid you're mistaken, miss. But I do have a message from IP. He slipped me a folded note and walked away. The paper felt heavy in my hands. The truth, like a good soufflé, rises best when given proper time and temperature. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., the Crimson Rose office. Back at my restaurant, I threw myself into menu testing. Each dish needed to be perfect, both in taste and message. The mushrooms sizzled in the pan, their aroma bringing back memories of that night 12 years ago. I swear, Dad, Rosalind took the car. Hayden had cried, her designer dress torn and muddy. I tried to stop her. Dad had believed her. He always did. Those smell amazing, Quentin said, entering the kitchen. But you look troubled. I found grandmother, or rather, she found me. I showed him the note. I'm meeting her tomorrow. Are you ready for what she might tell you? Before I could answer, William burst through the door. Rosalind, we need to talk. About? Hayden's been crying all afternoon. She says you're trying to ruin her engagement party. I handed him a spoon of the bisque. Taste this. He did, his eyes widening. It's incredible. That's grandmother's recipe, the one she made the night she confronted Mother about stealing her inheritance, money that was meant for both Hayden and me. William sat heavily on a prep stool. What inheritance? Exactly. Mother never told us. But I found the letters. Grandmother left each of us a trust fund for our dreams. Mine for a restaurant, Hayden's for law school. But Hayden's parents paid for law school. Did they? Or did they use her trust fund and hold it over her head ever since? Understanding dawned on his face. That's why she's so desperate to please them. The kitchen door swung open again. This time it was Mallory, holding a magazine. You need to see this. The new Crimson Rose review just dropped. I grabbed it, scanning quickly. It was a review of my restaurant, written with intimate knowledge of my techniques. The final line made my heart stop. Like her grandmother before her, this chef understands that every dish tells a story. Some stories, however, are still waiting to be told. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The soufflé is rising, dear one. Are you ready to learn why history repeats itself in your family? I have to go, I said, grabbing my coat. Quentin, can you handle dinner service? Where are you going? William called after me. To get some answers, and maybe... I paused at the door to find out why my sister really sabotaged my wedding. The spring air hit my face as I stepped outside. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., I'd finally face my grandmother. But tonight I had recipes to perfect. Each one needed to be more than just delicious. They needed to be keys unlocking decades of family secrets. Because something told me that Hayden's betrayal wasn't just about sibling rivalry. It was about a pattern, a cycle of lies and manipulation that started long before either of us was born. And I was going to break it, one dish at a time. The Crimson Rose office was exactly what you'd expect from the city's most feared food critic. Minimalist, elegant, and slightly intimidating. But instead of my grandmother, I found an empty desk and another note. The engagement party starts in an hour. Time to serve some truth. I rushed to the Metropolitan where my team had already set up. The appetizers were arranged perfectly, each mushroom cap a tiny bomb of revelation waiting to explode. Everything's ready, Quentin said, adjusting his tie. But are you sure about this? Before I could answer, Mother swooped in, examining the displays. The mushrooms looked different than what you described. Special recipe, I smiled. Dad's favorite, actually. From that night Hayden borrowed his car. Mother's face tightened. Ancient history. Is it? Because I have some fresh history to discuss, like how Hayden accessed my email to cancel my venue. Lower your voice, she hissed. Guests are arriving. They were indeed. London's elite mixing with New York's finest, all here to celebrate my sister's engagement. William's family arrived in a cluster of perfectly tailored suits and posh accents. The first course went out. I watched from the kitchen door as Hayden bit into a mushroom, her eyes widening in recognition. She excused herself from the table and made a beeline for me. That filling, it's exactly like the ones grandmother made that night? Yes, funny how taste can bring back memories, isn't it? Stop it, she whispered. This is my engagement party. And that was my wedding venue. William appeared behind her. Everything okay? Your fiancé was just about to explain why she sabotaged my wedding. I handed him a mushroom. Try it. It's filled with truth and consequences. He took a bite, then froze. This taste... Hayden, it's like that dinner at your parents' house when you told me about the car incident. What car incident? His mother asked, joining us. Nothing, Hayden said quickly. Oh, let me tell the story, I offered. It's about family loyalty and lies. Roslyn, please. Hayden's voice cracked. Not here. The soup course was being served. The bisque's aroma filled the air, saffron, cream, and secrets. Mother approached, her face pale. You didn't... Grandmother's exact recipe, I confirmed. The one she made the night she confronted you about the inheritance. William's father perked up. Inheritance? Don't, Mother warned. Why not? I challenged. Afraid everyone will learn how you stole your own daughter's trust funds? The room grew quiet. Hayden gripped William's arm, her knuckles white. That money was meant for our dreams, I continued. My restaurant, Hayden's law school. But you used it to control us instead. Is this true? William asked Hayden softly. She nodded, tears forming. They said I had to prove I deserved it, that I had to be perfect. Perfect enough to sabotage your sister's wedding. A new voice cut through the tension. Everyone turned. There stood Iris, elegant in a black dress, her silver hair styled impeccably. My grandmother, the famous food critic, finally revealed. Hello, Violet, she said to my mother. Your daughter's quite the chef. She understands that every dish tells a story. Mother stepped back. You have no right to be here. Actually, I do. I was invited. By the chef. Iris lifted a spoon of bisque. Exactly as I remember it. The night I discovered you'd stolen your daughter's future, the guests murmured. William's parents exchanged concerned looks. You disappeared, I said to Iris. Why? Because your mother gave me a choice. Leave, or she'd ensure neither of you received a penny of your inheritance. I left to build evidence, to become powerful enough to fight back. She gestured around the room. And now, thanks to your culinary skills, the truth is served. Hayden burst into tears. I only canceled her venue because Mother said, she said if I didn't prove my loyalty to the family, they'd pull their support for the wedding, for everything. Still manipulating your daughters, Violet? Iris's voice was sharp. Some recipes never change. The main course was due to go out, but the kitchen door remained closed. The room crackled with tension and unspoken words. William wrapped an arm around Hayden. We don't need their support. We never did. But the firm, the partnership, Hayden protested, was earned by your work, not their money, he said firmly. I watched my sister, really watched her, and saw something I'd missed before. She was as trapped as I had been, maybe more so. The main course, I announced, will be slightly delayed. I think we all need a moment to digest what's already been served. Iris touched my arm. Sometimes the best dishes are the ones that clear the palate for a fresh start. As the guests buzzed with gossip and shock, I caught Hayden's eye. For the first time in years, I saw my sister instead of my rival. And in her tear-streaked face, I saw the possibility of something I hadn't expected to find on my menu of revenge: reconciliation. I found Hayden in the Metropolitan's garden, mascara streaking down her cheeks. She sat on a stone bench, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. The lamb's getting cold, I said, sitting beside her. Is that really what you came to tell me? No. I handed her a napkin. I came to ask why you didn't just talk to me, about any of it. She dabbed at her eyes. How could I? You were always so free. You chose cooking over law school and actually made it work. I chose what they wanted and still wasn't good enough. Free? I laughed bitterly. I worked 3 jobs to open my restaurant because Mother blocked my access to my trust fund. That's not freedom. That's survival. At least you fought back. I just gave in, over and over. William appeared with 2 glasses of wine. Thought you both might need these. He sat on Hayden's other side. Your grandmother is quite something. She's in there giving your mother the dressing down of a lifetime. Good, I said, taking a sip. Someone needs to. Remember when we were kids? Hayden asked suddenly. Before all this, we used to sneak into grandmother's kitchen and steal cookie dough. And she'd pretend not to notice, but always had extra ready for us. What happened to us, Roz? Mother happened. Money happened. Fear happened. William squeezed Hayden's hand. Tell her about the partnership. Hayden took a shaky breath. I didn't earn it. Mother pulled strings, called in favors, said it was my last chance to prove I could be successful the right way. When you announced your wedding, she said I had to show where my loyalty lay. By ruining my wedding? By proving I'd choose family over you. God, it sounds so twisted saying it out loud. Inside, we could hear raised voices. Iris's commanding tone carried through the open windows. You stole their futures, Violet. And for what? Control? I should go back in, Hayden said, standing. Why? I caught her arm. To be the perfect daughter again? How's that working out? I don't know how to be anything else. Yes, you do. William stood. You're an incredible lawyer, Hayden. Not because of your mother's connections, but because you work harder than anyone I know. He's right, I admitted. Remember that pro bono case last year? The family about to lose their restaurant? You fought for them because you believed in it, not because Mother approved. Hayden's phone buzzed. Mother calling. She stared at it, then declined the call. That's a start, I said. I'm sorry, she whispered. About the venue, about everything. I was so scared of losing their support that I forgot what it meant to have yours. From inside, Mallory appeared at the window, gesturing urgently. Roslyn, the lamb. Come help me, I said to Hayden, like we used to help grandmother. She followed me to the kitchen, where my team was plating the main course. I handed her an apron. Here, start with the herb crust. I haven't cooked since we were kids. It's like riding a bike. A very expensive, perfectly seasoned bike. As we worked side by side, something shifted. The tension melted like butter in a hot pan. Hayden's hands remembered the motions, and soon we fell into a rhythm. Mother's going to hate this, she said, sprinkling herbs with growing confidence. Good. I adjusted a garnish. Maybe it's time we both stopped caring what she hates. What about the wedding? Your wedding? Honestly, I stepped back to survey our work. I'm thinking of eloping. Just me, Quentin, and a really great meal. Can I come? The question hung in the air, fragile as a souffle. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw past the perfect makeup and designer dress to the girl who used to sneak cookie dough with me. Only if you help cook, she smiled, a real smile this time. Deal. We carried the plates out together, a united front for the first time in years. Iris watched us with knowing eyes as we served each guest. "Just like old times," she murmured as we passed. Mother sat rigid in her chair, her plate untouched, but around her, appreciative murmurs rose as people tasted the perfectly cooked lamb. "This is extraordinary," William's father announced. "Both of you did this?" "Family recipe," Hayden said, standing straighter. "Our grandmother taught us." And speaking of family recipes, Iris raised her glass. "I believe it's time for a new one without the bitter taste of manipulation." Mother pushed her chair back. "This is outrageous." "No, Mother," Hayden and I said in unison. "This is delicious." The room erupted in surprised laughter, and even William's straight-laced family cracked smiles. As I watched Hayden take her seat next to William, her head held high, I realized my revenge menu had transformed into something else entirely, a recipe for redemption. Dessert was meant to be the final act of my revenge play, but as I stood in the kitchen preparing grandmother's truth teller's tiramisu, my hands trembled for a different reason. "Need help?" Hayden appeared beside me, still wearing the borrowed apron. "You remember how to make this?" "Layer the lady fingers gently," she recited, reaching for the coffee-soaked cookies. "Too much pressure and they'll crumble. Just like family secrets," Iris said, entering the kitchen. She surveyed our work with practiced eyes. "Though some things are meant to crumble." Mother burst through the door. "Enough! This ends now." "Actually," I said, continuing to layer the dessert, "it's just beginning. Did you want to tell everyone about the trust funds, or should grandmother do the honors?" "You ungrateful." "Ungrateful?" Hayden's voice cracked like a whisk against a metal bowl. "We're ungrateful because we won't let you control us with money that was never yours? Everything I did was for your own good. Was it?" I stepped around the prep table. "Was it for our good when you made Hayden sabotage my wedding? When you threatened to pull her partnership if she didn't comply?" "I did what I had to do to keep this family together." "No," Iris cut in. "You did what you had to do to keep your grip on power, just like you did when you forced me out." The kitchen fell silent except for the hum of refrigerators. Through the window, we could see guests pretending not to watch our family drama unfold. "You want to know why I really left?" Iris asked, addressing both Hayden and me. "Your mother found out about the trust funds I'd set up. Money I'd earned from my restaurant reviews, saved for years. She threatened to contest my competency in court if I didn't sign everything over to her control." "Mother, you didn't," Hayden whispered. "Of course she did," I said, adding another layer to the tiramisu. "Because heaven forbid we make our own choices." "Choices?" Mother laughed sharply. "Like throwing away a law career for a kitchen? Like marrying beneath your station?" "Beneath our station?" William's voice made us all turn. He stood in the doorway, his face flushed. "Is that what you think of me?" "William, no." Hayden reached for him. "She doesn't—" "Actually," he said, "I want to hear this. Tell me, Violet, what exactly makes me beneath your station? My family's money? My own law practice? Or is it that I actually love your daughter for who she is, not who you want her to be?" Mother's face reddened. "You don't understand our family." "I understand perfectly," he interrupted. "I understand that you've manipulated both your daughters their entire lives. I understand that you stole their inheritance and used it as a weapon. And I understand that ends tonight." "You can't—" "Actually, I can." Iris pulled out her phone. "As the city's most respected food critic, I have quite a platform. Shall we discuss how you've been embezzling from your daughter's trust funds? I'm sure the legal community would be fascinated." Mother's perfectly maintained facade cracked. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." Iris's voice was as sharp as a chef's knife. "I've spent years documenting everything, building my reputation, waiting for the right moment. And thanks to Rosalind's brilliant menu tonight, that moment has arrived. I finished the final layer of the tiramisu with a dusting of cocoa powder. Dessert's ready." "You can't serve that," Mother protested. "Watch me." I lifted the first plate. "This is grandmother's recipe, the one she made the night she discovered your theft. Seems fitting to serve it now, don't you think?" Hayden grabbed serving plates. "I'll help." As we moved toward the dining room, Mother called out, "If you do this, you'll both be cut off. Completely." Hayden paused, then turned back. You can't cut us off from money you never had the right to control. She pulled off her engagement ring. And you can't control who I marry either. William and I will have our own wedding, our own way. With my catering, I added, winking at my sister. And my blessing, Iris said firmly. We pushed through the kitchen doors together, carrying truth and tiramisu to the waiting guests. Behind us, Mother stood frozen, her power melting like chocolate in a double boiler. William's mother rose as we entered. Everything all right? Better than all right, William said, taking a plate. We're finally serving honesty for dessert. As the guests tasted grandmother's famous tiramisu, I watched their faces. Each bite seemed to unlock another layer of understanding, of recognition that they'd witnessed something profound. To new beginnings, Iris raised her fork, and to my granddaughters, who finally learned that the sweetest revenge is living well. Hayden squeezed my hand under the table. Think we can cook together again sometime? Definitely, I said. But next time, let's skip the family drama and just make cookies. Deal, she smiled. Though I have to admit, revenge tastes pretty sweet. That's not revenge you're tasting, Iris corrected. That's freedom. The morning after the engagement party, my restaurant's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Word had spread about the dramatic dinner, and suddenly everyone wanted a taste of the infamous menu. Table for two under the name William, my hostess called out. I looked up from the reservation book to find William and Hayden, both looking surprisingly cheerful for people whose engagement party had imploded spectacularly. Please tell me you're not here to yell at me, I said. Actually, Hayden pulled out a folder. We're here with a proposition. We sat at my favorite corner table, the morning sun streaming through the windows. A waiter brought coffee without being asked. I've been thinking, Hayden said, spreading papers across the table, about what I really want to do with my law degree. Let me guess, not corporate law? Restaurant law, she grinned. Specifically, helping independent restaurants navigate legal challenges. And I want to start with helping you and grandmother recover the trust funds. William nodded. We've been up all night reviewing the documentation Iris provided. Your mother's financial manipulation wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. Speaking of mother, I stirred my coffee. Has anyone heard from her? She's locked herself in the house, Hayden said, but her lawyer called this morning. They want to negotiate. Of course they do. I picked up one of the documents. What's this? A business proposal. Hayden's eyes sparkled. Remember how we used to talk about opening a restaurant together when we were kids, before Mother pushed me toward law school? You want to open a restaurant now? Not exactly. I want to partner with you. I'll handle the legal side, you handle the food. We'll create a place that combines both our talents. And I'll help with the business plan, William added. My family's actually excited about investing. They were impressed by both of you last night. The kitchen door swung open, and Iris emerged carrying a plate. Try this. She set down what looked like a deconstructed apple pie. I call it family reconstruction, broken pieces coming together in a new way. You're cooking in my kitchen? I raised an eyebrow. Our kitchen, if you accept my proposal too. She sat down. I'm retiring from food criticism, but I'm not done with food. I want to join forces with my granddaughters. My phone buzzed. Mother calling again. I declined it. She'll keep trying, Hayden warned. Let her. I tasted Iris's dessert, the familiar flavors of childhood mixed with something new, a hint of unexpected spice. This is amazing. Like us, Hayden said. Familiar ingredients, new recipe. The door chimed and Mallory rushed in. Have you seen the Times? Iris's final review just dropped. She thrust the paper at us. There, in bold print, A Tale of Two Sisters. How family drama created the city's most exciting new culinary experience. You reviewed the engagement party? I stared at Iris. I reviewed the truth, she corrected, and announced my retirement. But more importantly, I announced my investment in a new venture, a restaurant that combines culinary artistry with social justice, run by my talented granddaughters. You're going to help fund it? Hayden asked. With my own money this time. Iris smiled. No manipulation, no control, just support. The door chimed again. Mother stood there, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Well, Iris said calmly, this should be interesting. Girls, Mother stepped forward. We need to talk. About what? I stood. About how you stole our futures? Or about how you tried to control us with money that was never yours? About making this right. She pulled out a check. I've transferred everything back to the trust funds, with interest. Why now? Hayden demanded. Because, Mother's voice cracked. Because I read Iris's review. Because I saw what my actions have done to my family. Because I don't want to lose my daughters. You already lost us, I said. The question is whether you want to try earning us back. Without conditions, Hayden added. Without control. Mother looked at the apple dessert on our table, then at each of us. I don't know how to do that. Then maybe, Iris said, it's time for you to learn a new recipe. I picked up Hayden's business proposal. We're starting something new, Mother. You can either support us genuinely or watch from the sidelines, but you can't control it. We're done with manipulation, Hayden said firmly. All of us. Mother nodded slowly, then placed the check on the table. Consider this a first ingredient in a new dish, if you'll let me try. I looked at Hayden, then at Iris. They nodded. Sit down, I said finally. Have some coffee. We've got some cooking to do. As Mother joined us, I realized that sometimes the best recipes aren't written down. Sometimes they're created in the moment, with equal parts forgiveness and determination, seasoned with truth, and served with hope. The sign painter finished the last swooping letter, Truth and Time, where family recipes tell stories. Through the front window of our new restaurant, I watched the morning sun catch the gold leaf, making it shimmer. Stop obsessing, Hayden nudged me. It's perfect. Like your wedding dress? I teased. She smoothed her simple white sundress. Exactly like my wedding dress. No frills, no drama, just us. We'd transformed an old brownstone into something magical, a restaurant on the ground floor, a legal office upstairs where Hayden already had 3 independent restaurants as clients. The kitchen gleamed with new equipment, funded by our recovered trust funds and legitimate family support this time. The first guest will be here soon, Quentin reminded me, adjusting his tie. You ready? For my sister's wedding brunch, or for opening day? Both, Iris said, emerging from the kitchen with a tray of pastries. Though I'd say you've been ready for this your whole life. William arrived with his parents, who had become surprisingly strong allies. His mother hugged both Hayden and me. The place looks wonderful, and so much more meaningful than some stuffy hotel ballroom. Mother was the last to arrive, carrying a wrapped package. She'd spent the past weeks in therapy, learning to loosen her grip. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Before we open, she said, I want to give you both something. Inside the package was a photo album. Not the polished, perfect family portraits she used to insist on, but candid shots from our childhood, Hayden and me covered in flour in grandmother's kitchen, both of us trying on chef hats, our first attempts at baking. I forgot about these, Hayden whispered. I didn't, Mother said. I just forgot what they meant, what really matters. The first guests began arriving, friends, family, food critics, all properly disclosed as Iris insisted. Each table received a menu card explaining the significance of every dish. Welcome to Truth and Time, I addressed the room. Today we're celebrating many things. A wedding, a opening, a reunion. Each dish tells part of our story, but more importantly, they represent where we're going, not just where we've been. Hayden squeezed my hand as the first course went out. Those infamous stuffed mushrooms, but with a new twist. Instead of hiding secrets, I explained, these reveal possibilities. The filling changes daily, always a surprise, always honest. William raised his glass. To possibilities. And to truth, Hayden added, even when it's hard to swallow. Mother stood, her hands trembling slightly. I'd like to say something. She took a deep breath. I spent years trying to control the narrative of our family. But the best stories, like the best recipes, come from freedom to experiment, to fail, to succeed on your own terms. I'm sorry it took me so long to learn that. Iris caught my eye and nodded. I brought out a special plate, a recreation of her truth-teller's tiramisu, but with a note tucked beside it. The secret ingredient was always love. As everyone ate, I watched the room. William's parents chatting easily with Mother about their upcoming joint venture. Hayden showing a young chef her legal templates for restaurant startups. Quentin and Iris debating the perfect coffee to liqueur ratio for tiramisu. Hey, Hayden pulled me aside. Remember when you were planning revenge instead of reconciliation? Funny how recipes change. Speaking of change, she grinned. I'm pregnant. I nearly dropped my spoon. What, does William know? Not yet. I'm telling him today. Think you can handle being an aunt? Only if I get to teach the kid how to bake. Deal, but no revenge recipes. Promise, only healing ones from now on. The sun climbed higher, streaming through our front window and illuminating the sign. Below it, we'd added a smaller line. A Parker family creation. All 3 generations listed as founders. Mother approached us, holding her dessert plate. This tiramisu, it's different from before. Better? I asked. More honest, she said. Like us. Hayden hugged her impulsively. Want to hear something honest? You're going to be a grandmother. Mother's eyes filled with tears. Real ones, not the manipulative kind we'd grown up with. Really? Really, and we're going to do it differently. All of us. I raised my glass, gathering everyone's attention. To family recipes, the ones we inherit, the ones we create, and the ones we're still discovering. To truth, Iris added. To time. Hayden winked. To both, Mother said softly. And to second chances. The room hummed with conversation and laughter, the kind that can't be forced or manipulated. Through the kitchen door, I could see my team preparing for our first official service, each dish designed to tell a story of its own. But the best story was right here, in the way Hayden's hand rested on her stomach, in Mother's genuine smile, in Iris's proud eyes, in the simple truth that sometimes the sweetest revenge is no revenge at all. It's letting go, moving forward, and creating something new from the ingredients life gives you, even if some of those ingredients were bitter at first.
The letter trembled in my hands as I stared at the familiar Hopkins Industries letterhead. 10 years. 10 years since I'd seen that logo, since I'd heard anything from my family. Now here it was, delivered to my private practice like a ghost from my past. My name is Yvette, and the last time I saw my family, they were walking away from me down a sterile hallway, leaving me trapped behind heavy metal doors at Riverside Mental Health Center. Dr. Hopkins? My receptionist Sarah's voice snapped me back to reality. Your 3 o'clock is here. Thanks, give me a minute. I tucked the letter into my desk drawer, smoothed my blazer, and tried to push away the flood of memories. That day plays on repeat in my nightmares. It's for your own good, sweetheart, Dad had said, his hand on my shoulder feeling like lead. Just take some time to get better. My brother Randolph stood behind him, eyes fixed on the floor, while orderlies approached with paperwork. There's nothing wrong with me, I had screamed, but they'd already made up their minds. I was the troublemaker, the one asking too many questions about the company's finances, the daughter who wouldn't just smile and play along. Dr. Hopkins. Sarah again. Should I reschedule? No, send them in. I forced a smile. 10 years of training helped me compartmentalize, push down the rage and hurt that still burned hot in my chest. My patient's session passed in a blur. The moment they left, I pulled out the letter again. The paper was thick, expensive, just like everything associated with my father's company. But the signature at the bottom wasn't his. Dear Dr. Hopkins, it read, my name is Eli Fowler, former partner to your father. We need to talk about the future of Hopkins Industries. Things have changed significantly since your departure. I laughed bitterly. Departure. Such a gentle word for what they did to me. My phone buzzed. Bethany, my oldest friend, the only one who stood by me through everything. Tell me you're not still at work, she said when I answered. Just finishing up. Liar, you're obsessing over something. I can hear it in your voice. I sighed. Got a letter today, from Dad's company. Holy shit. A pause. Want me to come over? Please. An hour later, we sat on my apartment floor, takeout containers scattered around us, the letter between us like a bomb waiting to detonate. It could be a trap, Bethany said, twirling noodles around her fork. Obviously, it's a trap. The question is, what kind? You don't have to respond. You've built a good life here. Your practice is thriving. You're respected. I spent 3 months in that place before Aunt Emily helped me get out. My voice cracked. 3 months of being drugged, treated like I was crazy, all because I discovered what Dad and Randolph were doing with the company money. Bethany reached for my hand. I remember. I visited every week. They took everything from me. My freedom, my reputation, my trust fund, my place in the company. I squeezed her hand. But they didn't break me. I got my degree, built my practice, made something of myself without their money or connections. So why risk it all now? I picked up the letter. Because Eli was the only board member who voted against committing me. He knew I was right about the embezzlement, but he was outnumbered. If he's reaching out now, then something big is happening. Bethany leaned back against the couch. What are you thinking? I stood and walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. I'm thinking it's time to go home. Not as the scared girl they locked away, but as Dr. Yvette Hopkins, successful psychiatrist and businesswoman. And what then? A small smile curved my lips. Then I take back what's mine. Everything they stole from me, everything they tried to destroy, I'm going to reclaim it all. Revenge won't heal you, Yvette. This isn't about revenge. I turned to face her. It's about justice, about making sure they can never do to anyone else what they did to me. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Dr. Hopkins, I hope you received my letter. The situation is urgent. Please contact me at your earliest convenience. Eli. Bethany read over my shoulder. Well, I picked up my phone and began typing. Mr. Fowler, I'd be happy to meet. Shall we say tomorrow, 9 a.m. at my office? I believe we have much to discuss. After hitting send, I walked to my desk and pulled out the business card I'd kept all these years. The one Eli had slipped me just before they took me away. If you ever need help, he'd whispered. Well, I didn't need help anymore, but I was ready to offer some of my own. And this time, I'd make sure the price was steep enough to settle a decade-old debt. Eli looked exactly as I remembered him. Tall, distinguished, with kind eyes that carried the weight of too many corporate battles. He sat across from me in my office, his fingers drumming nervously on the armrest. You've done well for yourself, he said, glancing around at my credentials on the wall. Graduated top of your class at medical school, built a successful practice. No thanks to them. I kept my voice steady. But you're not here to discuss my achievements. He pulled out a folder thick with documents. The company is in trouble, Yvette. Serious trouble. Your father's made some questionable decisions. And Randolph? He shook his head. Your brother's gambling addiction has gotten worse. Much worse. I'm surprised they let him anywhere near the company finances after what happened with me. That's just it. They didn't. He found ways around the safeguards, created shell companies, forged signatures. Eli spread several papers across my desk. The board is ready to force them both out, but we need someone with family ties to take control. Someone who understands both business and human nature. I picked up one of the documents, scanning the numbers. These losses are staggering. Your father's pride won't let him admit he's lost control. But the employees, good people who've worked there for decades, they're about to lose everything. A knock at my door interrupted us. Sarah poked her head in. Dr. Hopkins, your Aunt Emily is here. Aunt Emily burst in before I could respond, her silver hair flying wild around her face. I knew you'd be meeting today. I couldn't stay away. She turned to Eli. Have you told her everything? Emily's been my inside source, Eli explained, keeping me informed about the company's decline. I stood to hug my aunt, breathing in her familiar lavender perfume. She'd been my lifeline during those dark months in the institution, smuggling in real food and books about psychology when the doctors weren't looking. Your father's not well, sweetheart, Emily said, settling into a chair. The guilt's eating him alive. He drinks too much, barely comes to the office anymore. Guilt? I laughed sharply. That would require a conscience. People can change. Emily said softly, even if it's too late to matter. What exactly are you proposing? I asked Eli, steering us back to business. He leaned forward. I own 20% of the company shares. Emily has 5%. With your original 10% that they couldn't legally strip from you, plus the support of other board members I've spoken with, we can force a leadership change. My phone buzzed. A text from Bethany. How's it going? Need backup? I typed back quickly. All good. Having tea with the devil. We'll call later. Why now? I asked Eli. Why not years ago when you knew they were wrong about me? Pain flickered across his face. I tried to help where I could. Kept your shares safe, made sure Emily could access funds to support you. But I needed proof of their misconduct. Proof we finally have. He tapped the papers on my desk. The question is, are you ready to come back and face them? I stood and walked to my window, the same one I'd looked out of last night. But today the city looked different, full of possibility rather than shadows. Do you remember what you said to me that day? I asked Eli, just before they took me away. I said I was sorry, that I'd make it right someday. No. I turned to face him. You said, sometimes the best revenge is success. Emily made a small sound of protest, but I held up my hand. I did succeed. I rebuilt my life, helped others heal their minds while I healed mine. But now, I picked up one of the documents. Now I can do more. Help the employees, save the company, and yes, make them face what they did. It won't be easy, Eli warned. Randolph will fight dirty. My father will do what he always does. Whatever protects his pride. I sat back down, pulled out a legal pad. Tell me everything. Every detail about the company's current situation. Every weakness, every strength, every person we can trust. For the next 2 hours, we planned. Emily provided insights about the staff. Eli outlined financial strategies, and I took pages of notes. By the time they left, the sun was setting. I called Bethany immediately. So? She answered. Are you going to war? I'm going home, I replied, watching the sky turn purple through my window. But this time, I'm not the one who needs to be afraid. Need me to come with you? I smiled, grateful for her unwavering loyalty. Actually, yes. How do you feel about being my personal assistant? I could use someone I trust absolutely. When do we start? Monday morning. Wear something expensive. We're going to show them exactly what they threw away 10 years ago. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and began researching the company's recent projects. Tomorrow, I'd start closing my practice, referring my patients to trusted colleagues. In 1 week, I'd walk back into Hopkins Industries. And this time, I'd be the one holding all the cards. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor of Hopkins Industries, and I stepped out like I owned the place. Which, technically, I now did. Bethany followed close behind, tablet in hand, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Whispers erupted as we passed. A young intern dropped her coffee cup, brown liquid spreading across the pristine floor. I recognized a few faces from before, now aged 10 years, their expressions a mix of shock and uncertainty. Is that? It can't be. I thought she was in... Eli met us at the conference room door. Ready? Born ready. I straightened my spine and walked in. The boardroom fell silent. 12 pairs of eyes locked onto me, including my father's bloodshot ones and Randolph's narrowed glare. Dad had aged dramatically. His once black hair now completely gray, deep lines etched around his mouth. Randolph looked worse. Expensive suit hanging loose on his frame, dark circles under his eyes. What is this? Randolph stood, his chair scraping against the floor. She can't be here. Actually, Eli stepped forward. Dr. Hopkins is here as the new majority shareholder and CEO, effective immediately. He distributed documents to everyone at the table. The board voted yesterday. Dad's face went pale. This is impossible. You can't... Can't what, Dad? Can't function without supervision? Can't make rational decisions? Funny how things change. I took my place at the head of the table. Please, everyone, sit. We have a lot to discuss. Randolph remained standing. This is ridiculous. I'm calling security. Security reports to me now. I cut him off, as does everyone else in this building. Sit down, Randolph. He sat, but his hands were shaking as he reached for his water glass. Now, I opened my laptop. Let's talk about the Thompson contract. How do you know about Thompson? Randolph snapped. I know everything. The shell companies, the offshore accounts, the gambling debts paid with company funds. I clicked through several spreadsheets. Did you really think nobody would notice $3 million missing from the pension fund? A board member gasped. Others started shuffling through the documents Eli had distributed. These allegations Dad started, are fully documented, Eli interrupted, and have been verified by our external auditors. I stood and walked around the table, stopping behind Randolph's chair. You have two options. One, resign quietly, both of you, with basic severance packages and no criminal charges filed. Two, fight me, and I release everything to the SEC. You wouldn't dare, Dad growled. You'd destroy the company's reputation. The company's reputation? I laughed. You mean like you destroyed mine? Tell me, Dad, how much did you pay Dr. Marcus to diagnose me with paranoid delusions? The color drained from his face. That's right. I found those records too. I returned to my seat. You have 24 hours to decide. Until then, you're both suspended from all company activities. You can't do this to me. Randolph slammed his fist on the table. I'm your brother. My brother? I leaned forward. My brother watched them drag me away. My brother knew I was right about the embezzlement because he was the one doing it. My brother... I paused, pulling out one final document. Signed the commitment papers himself. The room went deadly quiet. Dad turned to stare at Randolph, who had gone completely white. You told me the doctors required my signature, Dad whispered. You said it was the only way to help her. Dad, Randolph stumbled to his feet. She was going to ruin everything. She knew too much. I had to... Get out. Dad's voice was ice cold. Both of you, just... get out. I stood, gathering my things. 24 hours, choose wisely. In the hallway, Bethany touched my arm. Are you okay? I will be. I watched through the glass as the board members filed out, leaving my father alone, his head in his hands. Have security clear out their offices, change the passwords on their accounts, and call IT. I want every file they've accessed in the last 5 years. Already done, she smiled. Your new office is ready too. We walked down the corridor to the corner office, my father's old domain. The nameplate already read Dr. Yvette Hopkins, CEO. Inside, the decor had been completely changed. Gone were the dark woods and leather, replaced with clean lines and bright spaces. One more thing. Bethany handed me a file. We found this in Randolph's personal safe. You might want to look at page 3. I opened it and froze. There, in black and white, was proof that my commitment wasn't just about silencing me. There had been an insurance policy, a big one, that would have paid out to Randolph if I had died in that institution. My hands started shaking. He didn't just want me gone. He wanted me dead. What are you going to do? I walked to the window, looking out over the city I'd left in handcuffs 10 years ago. Call our friends at the FBI. It's time they knew exactly what kind of business my brother's been running. The sun glinted off nearby buildings, and for the first time in a decade, I felt truly powerful. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The knock on my office door came just after midnight. I'd been reviewing years of financial records, each new discovery making my blood boil. Bethany had gone home hours ago, but I couldn't stop digging. Come in, I called, expecting security. Instead, Randolph stumbled in, clearly drunk. Happy now, sis? He swayed slightly. Daddy's crying in his study, drinking himself stupid. Just like old times. I reached for my phone, but he held up his hands. No need to call security. Just came to chat with my baby sister. You're not supposed to be in the building. Funny thing about that. He dropped into a chair. Turns out I still had Dad's old keycard. He never changes anything. Passwords, cards, habits. Not like you. You changed everything. I grew up, got stronger. Meanwhile, I gestured at his disheveled appearance. How much do you owe now, Randolph? The casino records show at least $2 million. He laughed bitterly. Been doing your homework, huh? Always the perfect student, perfect daughter, perfect everything. Except I wasn't, was I? I asked too many questions, saw too much. I pulled out the insurance policy document. Like this. Care to explain? His eyes fixed on the paper, something dark passing across his face. You weren't supposed to find that. Like I wasn't supposed to survive the institution? 3 accidental overdoses in 3 months. Funny how they all happened during your visits. He stood suddenly, pacing. You don't understand. I had debts. Dangerous people. If you just died quietly, you'd have gotten $5 million. I stood too, anger burning in my chest. And a convenient way to hide your embezzlement. I protected this company. He whirled on me. While you were playing doctor, I kept us afloat. By stealing from employees' pensions? By laundering money for drug cartels? I held up another file. I found your Mexican connections, too. The color drained from his face. You're bluffing. Try me. I opened my laptop, turned it to show him surveillance photos. The FBI is very interested in your monthly trips to Cancun. He moved faster than I expected, lunging across the desk. But I was ready. The self-defense classes I'd taken after the institution paid off. I sidestepped, and he crashed into my chair. Security! I called out, backing toward the door. You bitch. He scrambled up. You think you can just walk back in here and take everything? No, Randolph. I'm taking back what's mine, and I'm making sure you pay for what you did. 2 security guards burst in, grabbing him as he tried to lunge again. Get him out of here, I ordered. And call the police. He's violated the restraining order. As they dragged him away, he shouted, You think you know everything? You don't know half of it. Ask Dad about Mom's accident. Ask him what really happened. I froze. Mom's car accident had happened when I was 16. A tragic crash on a rainy night. Or so we'd been told. My phone buzzed. Aunt Emily. Are you okay? Security called me. I'm fine. But Emily... Did you ever question Mom's accident? A long pause. Come over, now. There's something you need to see. 30 minutes later, I sat in Emily's kitchen while she dug through an old filing cabinet. Your mother gave me these, she said, pulling out a manila envelope. 2 days before she died. Said if anything happened to her, I should keep them safe. Inside were photographs and documents. Proof of Dad's earliest financial crimes. Mom had been the company's accountant before the accident. She was going to expose him. Emily said softly. She had a meeting scheduled with the SEC. But she never made it. My hands shook as I read through the papers. The brake lines in her car were cut. Emily wiped a tear. The police ruled it an accident, but she knew. She told me if anything happened to her, I should protect you. That's why I helped you escape the institution. Why I kept track of your shares. Did Randolph know? He was your father's golden boy by then. Already learning the family business. All of it. I gathered the documents carefully. I need copies of everything. And Emily, thank you. For all of it. She hugged me tight. Your mother would be so proud of you. Not for the revenge, for surviving, for building yourself back up. As I drove home, my mind raced. The company's corruption went deeper than I'd imagined, rooted in decades of deception and violence. My phone buzzed with a text from Bethany. FBI wants to meet tomorrow, 9 a.m. I pulled over, watching the city lights blur through tears of rage and grief. Mom had tried to stop them and paid with her life. I'd tried and lost 10 years of mine. But tomorrow I would finish what she started. I texted back, I'll be there. And Bethany? Bring everything we have on Dad. Every last file. It was time to rip out the rot at its source. The FBI agents sat across from me in the conference room, their expressions carefully neutral as they reviewed the evidence. Agent Lisa Martinez took notes while her partner, Agent Tom Bradley, spread documents across the table. "This goes beyond corporate fraud," Martinez said, tapping the insurance policy. "We're looking at attempted murder, conspiracy, money laundering." A knock interrupted us. Bethany poked her head in. "Sorry, but you need to see this. Your father's here." I excused myself and found Dad waiting in the lobby, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His expensive suit hung loose, his eyes red-rimmed. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "Alone?" I led him to my office, leaving the door open. "Make it quick. I'm in a meeting." "With the FBI?" He sank into a chair. "Randolph told me before they arrested him this morning." "Did he tell you why?" He said... Dad's voice cracked. "He said you know about your mother." "That you had her killed?" "Yeah, I know." He flinched like I'd slapped him. I never meant... Save it." I sat behind my desk, maintaining distance. "You knew what would happen if she went to the SEC. You chose money over her life. Over my life. You don't understand. The company was everything. Your grandfather built it from nothing. And you turned it into a criminal enterprise." I pulled out Mom's old files. She kept records of everything, Dad. Every illegal deal, every bribe, every shell company. And now the FBI has them all. He stared at the familiar handwriting. "Margaret." He whispered Mom's name. She always was too honest for her own good. "Like mother? Like daughter?" I leaned forward. "Is that why you let Randolph put me away? Because I'm like her?" I thought... He pressed his hands to his face. "I thought I was protecting you. Randolph said if we didn't stop you, you'd end up like her. I was afraid that I'd die in a mysterious accident." The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. "Instead, you let him try to kill me slowly, in a place where no one would question another patient's death. I didn't know about the overdoses. I swear, Yvette, when Emily told me, I stopped his visits immediately. But you left me there, for months, because by then I believed you were safer there than out here." He looked up, eyes wet. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But the company, the employees, they don't deserve to suffer for my sins. I'm not you, Dad. I'm not destroying the company." I stood and walked to the window, Mom's favorite spot when this was her office. "I'm saving it. Every pension will be restored. Every illegal deal unwound. Every person who helped cover up your crimes will face justice. And me? That depends on you." I turned back to him. "The FBI wants names, dates, details, every criminal connection you've made over the past 30 years. He paled. "They'll kill me. We can protect you. Witness protection, new identity, the works. But only if you tell them everything. And Randolph? Made his own choices, just like you did." A knock at the door. Agent Martinez. "Dr. Hopkins, we need to resume." Dad stood shakily. What would Margaret think of all this? Mom would have wanted the truth to come out. She died trying to make that happen. I walked to the door. "The agents will want to speak with you next. I suggest you think carefully about what you want your legacy to be." "My legacy?" He laughed sadly. "My legacy is standing right in front of me. Strong, principled, everything I should have been." He reached for my hand but stopped short. "I know it means nothing now, but I am sorry, Yvette. For everything." "You're right," I said, pulling away. "It means nothing. Actions matter, Dad. Not words. Not anymore." I left him there and returned to the conference room where Bethany waited with fresh coffee and a stack of new files. "Your father looked rough," she said softly. "He just realized he's lost everything." I picked up my coffee. The company, his freedom, his children, all because he couldn't be honest. Like mother, unlike father. Bethany smiled. The shareholders' meeting is tomorrow, I reminded her. Have you prepared the presentation? Full disclosure of all criminal activities, detailed plan for corporate restructuring, and complete compensation for affected employees. She handed me a tablet. Plus, I added a section about the new ethical oversight committee you're establishing. I scrolled through the slides, noting how she'd managed to make corporate reform sound almost exciting. Perfect. Tomorrow we show everyone exactly what kind of company this will be going forward. And your father? I glanced toward my office, where Dad sat with his head bowed. He'll do the right thing. Finally. Because it's his only choice. The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows, and for a moment I could almost see Mom standing there, smiling her approval. Tomorrow would bring changes, challenges, and probably more revelations. But for now, justice was finally in motion. The shareholders' meeting room buzzed with tension. Every seat was filled, with people standing along the walls. Reporters clustered near the entrance, their cameras ready. Bethany stood at the podium, checking the microphone one last time. 5 minutes, she whispered as I approached. You sure about this? I adjusted my mother's old necklace, a simple pearl pendant Emily had saved for me. Absolutely. Eli appeared at my elbow. Your father's here, back row. I spotted him sitting alone, looking like he'd aged another decade overnight. The FBI interview had lasted 8 hours. He'd told them everything. Ladies and gentlemen, Bethany called out, please welcome Dr. Yvette Hopkins, CEO of Hopkins Industries. The room fell silent as I took the podium. Hundreds of eyes watched me. Employees, investors, board members, press, all waiting to hear how bad it really was. 10 years ago, I stood in this room and accused this company's leadership of criminal behavior. My voice carried clear and strong. I was declared mentally unstable and institutionalized for my troubles. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what they tried to hide. I clicked to the first slide, a photo of my mother. This is Margaret Hopkins, former chief accountant. She died in a staged car accident 25 years ago after discovering widespread fraud and embezzlement. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A reporter's camera flashed. Since then, this company has been involved in money laundering, pension theft, and international criminal enterprises. I clicked through slides showing evidence. The FBI has the full details. Arrests are already underway. A man stood up. What about our jobs? Our investments? Every stolen penny will be restored, I assured him. I've already transferred personal funds to cover the pension shortfall. The company itself remains financially sound once we cut out the criminal elements. And your brother? Someone called out. Is it true he tried to have you killed? Randolph Hopkins has been arrested and charged with multiple felonies. I met my father's eyes across the room, as have his co-conspirators. More questions erupted, but Bethany stepped in smoothly. We'll take questions after Dr. Hopkins outlines the restructuring plan. For the next hour, I detailed the company's future. New oversight committees, ethical guidelines, employee protections. The mood shifted from fear to cautious hope as people realized their livelihoods weren't destroyed. Finally, I said, I want to address our employees directly. I set aside my notes. You are not responsible for the crimes of your leaders. Your jobs are secure. In fact, as part of our restructuring, every employee will receive company shares. This business belongs to all of us now. Applause broke out, hesitant at first, then building. I saw tears on some faces, smiles of relief on others. During the question period, a young intern raised her hand. Why did you come back? After everything they did to you? The room hushed, waiting for my answer. I touched my mother's necklace. Because running away from corruption doesn't stop it. Because every person in this room deserves better than what they've had. And because... I paused, looking directly at my father. Sometimes the only way to honor the dead is to finish what they started. Dad stood abruptly and walked out. Several reporters followed him, but he was already gone. After the meeting, Eli found me in my office. That was quite a show. Not a show. A promise. I handed him a stack of papers. Speaking of which, here's your copy of the new board structure. You're still VP of Operations, but with some added oversight responsibilities. And your father? Turned state's evidence this morning. He'll be in witness protection by tonight. I sat heavily in my chair. He gave them everything. Names, dates, offshore account numbers, 25 years of criminal connections. He finally chose right. Too late to matter. My phone buzzed. Bethany texting from the lobby. Reporter from Wall Street Journal wants 5 minutes. Says it's about your mother. Send her up, I replied. Eli moved to leave, but I stopped him. Stay. You were here back then. You knew Mom. The reporter, a sharp-eyed woman named Rachel, got straight to the point. I covered your mother's accident. Never believed it was random. She pulled out an old article. I kept digging over the years, but could never prove anything. Until now. She laid out photos, notes, interviews, 2 decades of investigation. Your mother contacted me, 2 days before she died. Said she had proof of massive financial crimes. We were supposed to meet, but she never made it. I picked up one of the photos. Mom at a company party, laughing with Emily. Would you like to write her real story? Set the record straight? Rachel's eyes lit up. That's why I'm here. Come back tomorrow. Bring your team. I'll give you everything. Her records, her discoveries, what it cost her to stand up for the truth. I smiled sadly. The world should know who Margaret Hopkins really was. After Rachel left, Eli squeezed my shoulder. Your mother would be proud. I know. I looked out at the city, the same view Mom had all those years ago. The truth always comes out, Eli. Sometimes it just needs a little help. My phone buzzed again. Agent Martinez. Your father's in custody, ready to record his official statement. Want to be there? I texted back one word. No. Some chapters needed to close without me watching. The courthouse hallway felt suffocating as I waited to testify. Bethany sat beside me, reviewing notes, while Emily paced nervously. You don't have to be here for this part, Bethany said softly. The prosecution has enough evidence without your testimony. I need to look him in the eye. I smoothed my skirt. One last time. The heavy doors opened and a bailiff called my name. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the back rows while the jury sat stone-faced in their box. And there, in an orange jumpsuit, sat Randolph. He'd lost more weight in the months since his arrest. His eyes were clear, though. No more drugs or alcohol in prison? He watched me walk to the witness stand, his expression unreadable. Please state your name for the record. Dr. Yvette Hopkins. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Sandra, approached. Dr. Hopkins, please tell the court about the events of June 15th, 10 years ago. I described that day. The commitment papers, the orderlies, the drugs. My voice stayed steady as I detailed the 3 overdose attempts. The forged insurance policy, the years of financial crimes I'd discovered. And how did you obtain proof of these activities? My mother's records, which my aunt preserved. Company documents my father turned over to the FBI. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts. Sandra held up a document. Including this transfer order, signed by the defendant moving $5 million to a Cayman Islands account the day after your 3rd accidental overdose? Objection. Randolph's lawyer jumped up. Speculation. Overruled. The witness may answer. Yes, I said. That transfer was meant to look like executive compensation, but it matches exactly the amount of my life insurance policy. Randolph shifted in his seat. I caught his eye and held it. What happened when you confronted your brother about this evidence? He attacked me in my office, said I should have died quietly in the institution. The jury murmured. Randolph's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear, but he shoved the man away and stood. You want the truth? He shouted. Fine. Yes, I tried to kill her. She was going to ruin everything, just like our mother. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel while Randolph's lawyer tried desperately to silence him. Order. Order in the court. But Randolph was beyond control. You think you're so perfect, Yvette? You're just like her, Self-righteous, judgmental. Dad knew what had to be done. He chose the company over her, just like he chose it over you. Mr. Hopkins, sit down or you'll be removed. You want to know who cut Mom's brake lines? Ask Dad. Ask him who gave the order. Ask him. 2 bailiffs grabbed him, dragging him toward the door. His voice echoed back. You'll never be safe, Yvette. There are still people out there. People who know. The door slammed shut behind him. In the silence that followed, Sandra turned to the judge. Your Honor, given the defendant's confession, the state rests. Defense? The judge looked at Randolph's stunned lawyer. We request a recess to confer with our client. Granted. Court will resume tomorrow morning. Outside, reporters swarmed us. Emily pushed them back while Bethany led me to a side exit. Agent Martinez waited by her car. We got it all on record, she said. His confession, the threat, everything. We'll increase your security detail. No need. I watched another police car pull up. His connections are gone. Dad's testimony took down their entire network. Still, better safe than sorry. She handed me a file. Your father's new identity and location, as promised. Only you and the witness protection team know. I took the file but didn't open it. Any messages from him? Just this. She passed me an envelope. Inside was a single photo. Mom, Dad, Randolph, and me at the beach, years ago. On the back, Dad had written, I chose wrong. Every time. I'm sorry. Emily touched my arm. You okay? Better than okay. I ripped the photo in half, then quarters, letting the pieces fall into a trash bin. It's really over. Not quite. Bethany checked her phone. Rachel's article about your mother runs tomorrow. Front page of the Wall Street Journal. And the company? Stock's up 15% since the restructuring announcement. Employees are happy. The Ethical Oversight Committee meets next week. We walked to my car, the late afternoon sun warming our faces. A group of company interns passed by, waving cheerfully. One called out, Great job, Dr. Hopkins. Looks like you've got some fans. Emily smiled. They deserve better than what they had before. Everyone did. I unlocked my car. Want to grab dinner? I'm thinking that little Italian place Mom used to love. The one where she taught you to twirl spaghetti properly? Emily laughed. Perfect. As we drove away, I glanced in my rearview mirror at the courthouse. Randolph would never see freedom again. Dad would live out his days under a new name, haunted by his choices. And Mom would finally have justice. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about rebuilding something better from the ashes of what was lost. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I finished signing the last document. Bethany collected the papers, a broad smile on her face. That's it, she said. The employee stock ownership program is officially active. Every single worker now owns a piece of the company. Including you. I handed her an extra envelope. This is your promotion package. VP of Corporate Communications. You've more than earned it. She hugged me tight. Look at us now, a long way from sharing takeout and plotting revenge on your apartment floor. My phone buzzed. Emily was waiting in the lobby with a surprise. When I got downstairs, I found her with Rachel from the Wall Street Journal and a familiar face I hadn't seen in years. Dr. Marcus? I stepped back instinctively. He looked older, grayer, but I'd never forget the psychiatrist who'd helped commit me. Dr. Hopkins, he said, voice trembling. I've come to make amends. Rachel held up her recorder. Dr. Marcus contacted me after the article about your mother ran. He wants to confess everything. Your brother threatened my family, he said. Showed me pictures of my daughters at school. Said if I didn't diagnose you as paranoid, they'd hurt them. I gestured toward the conference room. Let's talk privately. Inside, Dr. Marcus broke down completely, sharing details of how Randolph had orchestrated everything. The false diagnosis, the dangerous medications, the covered-up overdose attempts. I've already spoken to the medical board, he finished. They're revoking my license. And I'm prepared to face criminal charges. No. Everyone looked at me in surprise. You'll face consequences, yes, but not prison. Instead, you're going to help me start something new. I pulled out a proposal I'd been working on. The Margaret Hopkins Foundation for Mental Health Ethics will advocate for patient rights, investigate institutional abuse, and provide oversight for psychiatric facilities. You want me to help? You know the system's weaknesses firsthand. Help me fix them. Help make sure no one else goes through what I did. He wiped his eyes. Why would you give me this chance? Because revenge doesn't heal anything, but redemption might. After they left, Eli found me in the garden courtyard we'd created where the old executive parking lot used to be. Employees ate lunch at scattered tables, enjoying the flowers and fountains. Board meeting in 10 minutes, he reminded me. We're voting on the international expansion. And the new ethical compliance requirements for all partners? Already distributed. Every company we work with must meet our standards for employee treatment and corporate transparency. A young intern approached nervously. Dr. Hopkins, we finished the audit you requested of all psychiatric facilities the company's insurance covers. There are problems with several of them. Send me the report. We'll start inspections next week. I turned back to Eli. Ready to make some more waves? Always. In the boardroom, familiar faces greeted me warmly. These weren't the same people who'd watched my father destroy lives. This was my team, chosen for their integrity as much as their skills. Before we begin, I said, I want to share something. I opened Mom's old leather portfolio, the one Emily had kept safe all these years. This was my mother's mission statement for the company, written the week before she died. I read it aloud. A business is not measured by its profits alone, but by the lives it touches, the ethics it upholds, and the legacy it leaves for future generations. She was right. Eli said softly. Yes, she was. And now we're making it real. I looked around the table. Every decision we make, every policy we implement, every life we affect, it all matters. We're not just running a company. We're changing how business itself works. After the meeting, I walked through the office, stopping to chat with employees. They weren't afraid anymore. They were proud, engaged, invested in our shared success. My phone buzzed with a text from Agent Martinez. Thought you'd want to know. Your brother tried to arrange a hit on you from prison. We intercepted it. He's being transferred to maximum security today. I replied, Thank you, but I'm not worried anymore. In my office, I found Bethany arranging fresh flowers. Lilies, Mom's favorite. Ready for your speech? She asked. The Mental Health Advocacy Conference starts in an hour. I touched Mom's necklace, then looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Dad was living under a new name, haunted by his choices. Randolph was facing life in prison. The corrupt empire they'd built was gone. But something better had risen in its place. Something Mom would have been proud of. You know what? I smiled at Bethany. I'm ready for anything. The sun caught the pearl pendant, making it glow like a tiny star. Mom had always said the truth was like that. A light in the darkness, showing the way forward. She died protecting that truth, and I'd nearly died discovering it. But we'd won in the end. Not through violence or vengeance, but by building something stronger than hate. Justice, redemption, and hope. I gathered my notes for the speech. It was time to share that light with others.